All right. I'm going to call this meeting of the Rancho Cordova City Council to order and ask the city clerk to call the roll.
Councilmember Terry,
Here.
Councilmember Budge,
Here.
Councilmember McGarvey,
Here.
Vice Mayor Gatewood, Vice Mayor Gatewood,
Here.
thank you, and Mayor Sander.
Here. And Madam Clerk, if you would read the Metro Cable TV television announcement, please.
The meeting of the Rancho Cordova City Council will be cablecast on Metro Cable 14, the local government affairs channel on the Comcast Consolidated Communications and AT&T UVerse cable systems. The meeting is closed caption and webcast at www.sacmetrocable.tv. Today's meeting will air on Wednesday, August 19th at 7 p.m. and Thursday, August 20th at 9 a.m. A DVD copy is available for checkout from any library branch. A copy can also be ordered from the city clerk's department, and a webcast of this meeting will also be available within 48 hours of adjournment of this meeting.
All right, very good. Next up, we have the Pledge of Allegiance and the invocation. The invocation time will be given by Jennifer Larrett of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Jennifer, are you with us? Oh, you're physically with us. Excellent. Last time we did a Zoom invocation for the first time, so I thought you might be following us, but you're physically with us. All right, so that's good. Now I need somebody to do the Pledge of Allegiance, and I see my neighbor Jim Cass is sitting here. Jim's been famous lately because he was an early COVID survivor here in Sacramento County and did a wonderful welcome home event that was covered on KCRA and all over the place. It's my neighbor in my neighborhood, lived here a long time, won't say how long. But Jim, would you mind leading us in the Pledge of Allegiance? And immediately after the Pledge of Allegiance, Jennifer will lead us in the invocation if you just remain standing. To the flag of the United States of America.
States of America.
For which
And to the republic,
one nation,
and
under
one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, Jennifer, come on up to the podium.
Dear Heavenly Father, we are so grateful for this day and for the many blessings which Thou hast bestowed upon us. And we are very grateful for the city and for our city leaders and all those who work to make this a great place to live. And please bless them at this time, that Thy prayers will be with them and that we will be able to comfort those who are in need of comfort and to lift those who are in need of comfort, and take us through this day in safety. And we say these things in my Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
All right. Thank you, Jennifer. Thank you, Jim. Very well done. We have the coordinated J's on duty tonight. Item number 5 is presentations, and we're supposed to recognize Councilmember McGarvey's birthday. And normally what we would do is sing happy birthday, but given COVID and the ability to spread through singing, we're not going to do that. We can hum it. Or we can all do a Rotary style, there's probably other organizations that do it, happy birthday, where everyone just sort of says happy birthday over and over, mumbles it, and plays a musical instrument of your hands or your armpit or your nose or something. Make a little noise for a little bit, and we'll call that a happy birthday song, as long as you're not spreading virus while you're doing it. You think we're good with that? All right, Bob, you ready for this? This is going to be a one-of-a-kind, first ever, last ever, most likely, birthday salute. Okay, on the count of 3.
Trying to get this thing recorded here.
1, 2, 3. Happy birthday, Bob! Woo! Yay!
Happy birthday, Bob!
Happy birthday! So I regret to tell you there's a huge cake here that we're going to get to enjoy. You guys can virtually enjoy it via Zoom. Do you have any words of inspiration, Bob?
Yes. I'm very thankful for a birthday. I enjoy birthdays. It's always one more. It's always better than not having one. But thank you, everyone. I appreciate it. I got a call from the Robert J. McGarvey Elementary School, and the principal and some of the staff are singing happy birthday. It's just been a lot of fun. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you, Bob. Very well said. All right. And for the record, your birthday was August 10th, so we missed it by a little bit here, but that's all right. Okay, we are going to go to public comment. And Madam Clerk, I assume we got a few people signed up for public comment, given the state of our audience. Okay, public comment, item number 6 on the agenda. Citizens wishing to address the council for any matter not on the agenda may do so at this time by completing and submitting a speaker card to the city clerk. That's a blue card in the back of the room. If anyone hasn't filled one of those out and would like to comment to the city council, you just take one of those cards, fill it out, and turn it into the city clerk sitting right up here on my right. For items on the agenda, you will be called up to the podium by me at the time when that item comes up. If you're commenting on something not on the agenda, we're going to give you 3 minutes now. Please state your name, where you live. Under provisions of the California Government Code, the City Council is prohibited from discussing or taking immediate action on any item that is not on our agenda, unless it can be demonstrated to be of an emergency nature or the need to take immediate action arose after the posting of the agenda. So we take public comment now in the days of COVID here, several different ways. We have people in the audience today who are going to be up first. They'll be called up one by one if they've turned in cards. They can make comments at the podium for 3 minutes. Following that, we will go to video comments. And Madam Clerk, you'll tell us how many of those we have. And then finally, we also distribute emails to the City Council. And we may have someone call in also as an option to make public comment. All those are sort of lined out on our agenda about how you make public comment. We're doing this to keep everyone as safe as possible. We ask that you can take a mask off if you're at the podium. Please don't touch anything there. When you do that, the podium can be moved up and down for you. There's a timer on there that tells you how long you've got. We're not wearing masks up here because we're a long distance apart from each other. But if we have to get closer for some reason, then we mask up. I think that's it. Madam Clerk, anything else I need to tell them?
Nope, I don't think so.
All right, how many cards do we have?
So I have 12 speaker cards at this time and 2 emails that I will recognize when we get through the speakers that are here. And then anybody who raises their hand and wants to speak via Zoom or phone. The first speaker will be Robert Sanger.
And let's add, if you're on Zoom, click on its participants, I think, and then raise your hand if you wish to make a comment. That's how you gain our attention on Zoom to make a comment.
Yes, and if you are by phone, you will press the star and the number 9.
Excellent. All right, Robert, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good.
I guess I do get to raise this on. I've never spoke with a mask in public like this, so it's a first time for everything. Welcome. I just want to say, Mr. Mayor and City Council members, thank you for giving me a couple of moments to share some exciting news about something that's happening here in Rancho Cordova. In partnership with the County of Sacramento, UC Davis, STEM Express, the Folsom Cordova Community Partnership is offering free community-based COVID-19 testing. That testing happens on Tuesdays from 1 p.m. to 5 p.m. at our Family Resource Center located at 10665 Coloma Road. We do ask that people make appointments because we only have so many tests that we can do per day. And in order to make sure that everyone that's made an appointment gets that test, we very seldom will be able to entertain walk-ins. It is possible towards the end of the day if we don't have someone show up for that scheduled appointment. Some other things that I want to share with you about this testing site. This testing site is free to any Sacramento County resident. There are 10 testing sites throughout Sacramento County, and we are the one situated here in Rancho Cordova. Testing sites are for non-symptomatic or light to medium symptomatic residents. And this is not for residents that need to have a testing result for travel reasons because we can't guarantee that they will get the results in the time frame that they need to be able to travel. Sacramento County has encouraged anyone who wants to get tested to please make an appointment. They can do so by going to folsomcordova.setmore.com to schedule an appointment. And we do have also 4 different language lines for anyone that has questions or needs assistance with scheduling an appointment. So we have an English line, a Spanish line, a Russian line, and a Dari line. Testing takes place in less than 5 minutes, and most results are received within 72 hours of that test being taken. Information about the Rancho Cordova testing site, as well as frequently asked questions, are on a section on the Rancho Cordova City's COVID-19 website. And I just want to personally let you know and to thank city staff for their efforts to help us spread the word and being able to put that information up on the city website so that residents can get to it easily. There's a link there that they can click on to make an appointment if they go directly to the city page. So we're trying to make it as easy as possible for community residents to be able to get this testing. And they can make an appointment at any of the 10, but locally, we want to encourage them to come and eliminate as many barriers to that community testing as possible.
Please wrap up your comments.
Thank you. So other than that, I'm here to answer any questions that the council might have about it, if that's possible. But other
Everything-
than that, it's on the website.
Everything you just said is probably on the city website
It absolutely is.
or your website or both.
Yeah,
And the address for yours again was Folsom Cordova.
it's,
dot-
to make an appointment, it's folsomcordova.setmore, SETMORE.com.
.com.
David, I had a quick question.
Yes,
What's the time?
go ahead, Mr. Terry.
Robert, I don't know if you can even answer this. I know that there was a story that I read about the county repurposing some of their CARES funds. We won't get into the why they're doing that and other things that have happened in the past week. Do you know if this new proposal would give any type of additional or expanded capabilities or time to your organization? I'm assuming that the county's funding you for this
They are,
in
yes.
some way.
Yes, and there are
Okay.
resources
Okay.
that are being put forward to our site to be able to host and coordinate the registration and support to the community, as well as the testing that happens with STEM Express as well. So, yes, and UC Davis is also a partner, and they are just transitioning from doing the testing over to Setmore. I'm sorry, not Setmore, STEM Express.
STEM Express is the vendor for you.
Okay.
That's doing the testing. Yeah.
Okay. But you haven't heard any word, they haven't called you to see if you could do more, if they had more funding or something like that? I mean, the story I read was posted to the Business Journal within the last few hours, that all of a sudden the county's got some new 4 hours ago. I'm just curious to see if the county has started to reach out to see if anybody could be doing more if they were given more funding.
I know that is happening, and we're new to this. We're kind of the second round of community sites that are coming online. So we had our first one
Sure.
on Tuesday, and we served 125 people. This week, we're going to have appointments for 150, and we'll continue to increase until we reach the capacity that we can handle.
Okay. Appreciate it. Thanks for all your leadership and support in this.
Thank you.
Thanks,
What
Donald.
was
Those
the
are
time again, Robert?
Thank you.
the time of for the testing,
Oh, the time, 1 to 5 p.m.
1 to 5 p.m.
on Tuesdays.
Thank you.
Tuesdays. Yeah, I'm going to reserve comments on what the county's done with funding so far, but I really want to thank you as being our local representative to help out
Yeah.
in this situation. We appreciate that very much. But as a local nonprofit, you're perfectly positioned to do this. So on behalf of our community, thank you for stepping up. At some other point, I might talk about where the county is with regard to their response and the date that we're at now versus when they had funding. Oops, sorry, I'm getting into it. I don't want to get into that now. We can talk about that some other time, when I actually look at directly what the county released. I also saw the Business Journal article today, Donald, that raised a lot of questions.
Well, we're happy to be able to do this in the
Absolutely.
community, and, we're going to continue to increase in capacity to make sure that as many community members can get tested as possible.
Great, thank you very much.
Thank you.
I believe the next 11 speaker cards are related to the same topic. So the first speaker will be Mac Berry or I'm sorry, that could be Mark Berry. Following Mark will be Jim Cassis. And then following Jim will be Sergio Diaz. And following Sergio will be Doug Stevens. Mark Berry.
Okay, on this topic, unfortunately, I'm going to have to recuse myself because I live within, I believe this is on a project happening near my home. Many of these folks here are my neighbors. I'm going to have to recuse myself because under the California Government Code, I live too close and it's a conflict of interest for me to participate or try to influence this project in any way. So at least in a formal city process. So I'm going to recuse myself and step out. Garrett, you're vice mayor. Are you with us? Garrett?
Okay.
If Garrett's not there, Donald, you're next on the dais.
I think I heard Garrett just respond. Garrett, are you on mute or can you hear us?
Here,
You there, Garrett?
I'm here.
Garrett's
All right, Garrett.
I'm here.
We've got a line of, a queue of people here to make public comment. I have to step out because of a conflict. So you'll have to run the comments remotely. Okay, you got it?
Okay, this is gonna be nuts.
We'll
I'm
give
ready.
it a shot. I apologize for my absence.
Mark, you'll have 3 minutes.
Room's getting quieter.
All right, Mark, go ahead.
Okay, my name's Mark Berry. I'm a resident in East Tiffany Lane, and I wanted to start off by saying thank you to the council. In general, I'm happy with all the development that's happened in Rancho Cordova since I moved here, and I think you do a good job. But regarding this Cassis property development, I have some serious concerns. This is the last parcel along the American River, and I believe the city council is not maximizing its value to the community. The parcel consists of an upper plateau that drops down a 30-foot bluff into a lower basin. That lower basin is in a floodplain. Right now in that floodplain, there's a 20-acre heritage walnut grove that extends from that parcel in the floodplain through East Tiffany Lane all the way to Riverbend Park. And it probably was the same type of fruit and vegetables that served that routier station up there on the top of Broad Boudreaux along Folsom Boulevard that was built in 1866. This floodplain is going to be drastically changed. There's going to be a building pad on 20 acres that goes down 3 feet, up 5 feet, and that's going to drastically change the drainage. It's going to change the surface flow drainage from Tiffany Lane onto Tiffany Lane property. And we have a levee right there, which is a big concern. It's also going to change the subterranean drainage. So water flowing, especially in a high water condition or flood condition, coming off the bluff, coming from East Tiffany is going to be blocked by this. Okay. Then the size of the pad creates a lot of concern because there's going to be displacement of water. This is in the American River floodplain. It's going to be right up on the downhill side of East Tiffany Lane. That displacement is going to cause water to back up, potentially overflow the levee on East Tiffany Lane, and change the course of water flow along the American River Parkway, the drainage, and erode the bank, which is something that the developer's not going to touch, but that water certainly will. And even the flow from the pad, the way it's constructed, is going to drain into the American River Parkway in addition to flowing into East Tiffany Lane. So I think clearly this project impacts a lot of property. Okay, it certainly impacts East Tiffany Lane. And frankly, I'm alarmed by the lack of notice and what I think is forthrightness. There's a different plan given to us at the tentative. The tentative map was different at the community meeting than the plans that actually exist in the city planning records. So there's two different proposals. Community's been proposed one. We weren't given notice. I only learned about this less than 2 weeks ago, and I've had to do a lot of research just to figure out what's going on. There's a MND coming out in 10 days, and frankly, there's just not enough time for this project to have the seriousness it requires to be evaluated.
Please wrap up
and the
your
value
comments.
to the community maximized. Thank you.
The next speaker is Jim Cassis.
Surprise, surprise. Mr. Mayor,
All right,
my
Jim,
name's
welcome
gone. Mr.
to-
I'm sorry? Oh, it's outside. I'm a
said
little hard of
welcome.
hearing, and my voice isn't back from.
That's all right. Welcome.
He said, go ahead.
Oh, okay. This property is very meaningful to me. My uncle bought this property and my aunt bought it together with a group of other investors about 70 years ago. And I was able to grow up on this property through their generosity. And in my childhood, we spent hours, and in those days, you had to drive out all the way out Folsom Boulevard to get there. There was no bridge at Watt Avenue, no bridge on Sunrise. It absolutely tears me up to see the plan that these people are proposing for that property. The beauty of those trees, the pleasure that they gave us. I know my aunt never allowed any development to even be talked about while she was alive. She's been dead now for a few years, and it was inevitable that this would happen. But to take those trees out and make that project into houses where they're proposing is just a crime. And what really alarms me is something that Mark alluded to, and that is the lack of transparency of TrueMark. The fact that I live within 50 feet of that property, 55 feet of that property to be exact. I've never had any notice of it. I did know through my cousins that it was an escrow, but I had absolutely no idea that they'd progressed as far as they have. I had absolutely no idea that they intend to present this for a negative deck when it affects the American River Parkway. It affects the removal of all those trees. It affects tremendously the traffic on Rod Beaudry. Right now, I can't get to my own home on a Saturday or Sunday afternoon because the traffic is backed up trying to get into the park. And they want to increase that because another entry down that street. I can't believe that the city would even contemplate that without a negative declaration. I wish I was a little bit more technically educated on this like Mark is, but I'm not. I just telling you from my heart, what this property deserves is not what it's getting so far. And it really alarms me to be told the city is considering this without a negative deck, is considering it without any other consideration for the negative, allowing them to put 250 homes on that property. Back in the days when I practiced law, we put a tentative map on there, prepared a tentative map that the county, was a county in those days, gave us approval on for half-acre lots. Now, and they wouldn't even allow that any place except along the upper part and along close to the river. They would not allow us to build near the river. What these people are proposing is preposterous, and I would hope that you folks use your good sense. It's got to be a project someday. There's no question about it. But preserve the beauty of that property. It's the last piece of nice property in Rancho Cordova. Gorgeous trees on it. It needs to be made into a park down below. Let them build up on the upper part where it won't affect us by floods, by water control, and keep the beauty for the neighborhood and keep some way to access that property that won't affect us getting home.
Please wrap up your comments.
Yeah, I'm done. Thank you. Thank you for your time.
Sergio Diaz.
Good afternoon, Council.
Welcome,
Thank you.
Sergio.
Yes.
That was the vice mayor. He said hello.
Oh, good afternoon, Vice Mayor Linda Budge. How are you, Ms. Budge?
Hi, Sergio. It's so nice to see you.
Likewise, nice to see you too. And nice to see you, Bob. Thank you for the opportunity to speak here. I will be brief, and happy birthday, belated birthday. So I'm a resident of the Tiffany West community, and I'm here to express our concern regarding the proposed Casas development. I prepared a brief statement, and so I like to do this in a pointed manner. There apparently has been no discussion or consideration for connecting the Mira del Rio property to the Casas development. That would provide an additional access point that would mitigate the traffic that is currently being proposed to travel down Sterling Park Drive. There are two easements that are now under consideration to be abandoned. Those easements are, one is an equestrian easement, I believe it's a 50-foot easement, and the other one is a hiking easement that go directly across the Casas property that would enable a connection at Mira del Rio Road. There's also a possibility of a second access to include a private drive that exists on the west side of the property that is now being used as a utility road. That also additional access would mitigate the traffic that is now proposed, all to be absorbed by the Sterling Park Drive property. Sterling Park is part of the Tiffany West community. It's a quiet residential community. It's been a dead-end street for a long time. It's where families, children, children congregate. So we'll be turning that street into something very different. The access road at Folsom Boulevard, which now is under consideration by the developer, seems to be a very narrow road. It's not clear whether it's a two-lane road. It's also not clear about the geometry and the number of lanes at that intersection. There's also been no discussion about a traffic signal light at that Folsom Boulevard that would enable the residents of this future community to safely turn either east or west. Under the current plan, there's only apparently a small turn that is provided for residents to turn right. Furthermore, as Mr. Casas said, there's already an impact to the Rod Badri Street. That impact is because of the access that's now provided to the park by those added traffic, those bicycle lanes, as well as parking spots that were added about probably a year ago.
Please wrap up your comments.
Okay. I'm just asking the city to consider. The city is going to receive additional revenue from this development. The parcel owner is going to also benefit. The developer is obviously going to benefit, but the surrounding communities are getting no benefit as a result of all this traffic that's going to be imposed on this community. Thank you so much.
The next speaker will be Doug Stevens. Following Doug will be Lauren Peterson. Following Lauren will be Betsy Wayland.
Thank you to the City Council for providing this opportunity that we can address you with our concerns. You know, I'm really surprised how we got to this point. The land was zoned agricultural. To my understanding, that land was rezoned without proper notice to the public. So if you go back to the very onset of when these types of changes started to take place, the foundation is incorrect. That change was inappropriate, and there was not, as is the case, has already been mentioned with this project now, there is not adequate notice for that. The plans were submitted before there was any public discourse on this. The appearance of TrueMark trying to backdoor this into the community is really disturbing. I find it very disturbing. I find it very disturbing that the council would even entertain that type of an action on their part. The background work is not complete. People have mentioned Mira del Rio and as a possible access point, bringing out to a second, currently traffic light controlled intersection on Folsom Boulevard for people of this new community to either go east or west on that road. So half of the opportunity to mitigate the impact to the traffic is ignored by TrueMark avoiding going to the county and dealing with that issue to bring this to an improved plan if it's to move forward at all. The neighborhood as presented is very inconsistent with the adjacent neighborhoods now. High density, no real park. If you go up and down Folsom Boulevard in that part of Rancho Cordova, I'm unaware of a public park other than Riverbend Park on that side of Highway 50 in the city. We need more open space in that area. We need that lower deck of the 22 acres to maintain an open flood space, to maintain open area as this community continues to grow, to give people the opportunity to get outside and enjoy nature and enjoy the bounty that we have here and the benefit of that river. It's a horrible disservice to the community to put 25 homes feet from the bluff, so as you're floating down the river, you're looking at a gauntlet of buildings, and that's what it'll be, because by the current plans, all of the trees are gone. The recent changes to Route Boundary to help it make it more accessible for people on bicycles is just going to compound the problems with the additional traffic this, with the current plan, drives onto Route Boundary, because you're coming to an uncontrolled T intersection. My home backs Route Boundary, and every single weekend I hear cars going down that road at 30 or 40 miles an hour. And that's a slow speed. I mean, people race down that road. It is a true hazard. I'm amazed that nobody's been killed yet, but if we dump this amount of additional traffic to an intersection with very limited visibility, if you get out there and you, in your own car, try and approach the street to pull out onto Route Boundary, it can be a challenge to be able to see adequately to do that safely, especially if somebody is exceeding the speed limit, because they take away your opportunity for vision to take notice of them. So this runs counter to the purpose of Route Boundary that was just changed to. Drives way more traffic onto a road that's been congested for the purpose of less traffic and to slow people down. It's also inconsistent with the housing needs of the city of Rancho Cordova.
Please wrap up your comments.
We don't need more high-density housing. We have ample in the city. So the steps that brought us here have been flawed, and I'm afraid where this is going to go, if the project moves forward, it will not move forward. Thank you for your time.
I'd like to acknowledge that I received a speaker card from Lauren Peterson, but she does not wish to speak. The next speaker is Betsy Wayland.
Do you think I need to lower it, or
Yes.
can I just do this?
This is not something I ever have to do.
I'm still waiting to grow. I am going to take my mask off if you don't mind. Okay, good evening. My name is Betsy Weiland, and I'm here with Save the American River Association. And I wish to say, first off, happy birthday to Mr. Garvey, and to also do something that we're very remiss in doing. We never come before Rancho Cordova, the city council, to thank you often enough for the tremendous support the city has given Soil-Borne Farms, which is very near and dear to our hearts, as well as to, as you know, the communities throughout Sacramento. So I'll start off by saying that. Thank you very much. As I said, I'm with Save the American River Association, and we will be working with the citizens of Rancho Cordova, as well as the broader community, to do a better job of protecting these bluffs. Frankly, we were rather stunned when TrueMark did the presentation of the project. Massing 24 homes along the edge of a bluff that has the most magnificent views of the American River, as well as a tremendous wildlife corridor. But even more importantly, and I didn't know this really, I didn't appreciate this property because it is private property, so I wasn't as familiar with it. And if you have not walked that site or gone out to that property, not only is it a most amazing piece of property as far as the American River is concerned, but that walnut orchard, it would be an absolute crime to cut that walnut orchard down. It is, I don't know, I learn more and more every year about the history of Sacramento. Evidently, walnuts in Sacramento in the early 1900s, it was a tremendously important agricultural crop. And it was very important to Sacramento. And this is a part of our history, and our history as it relates to agriculture, the American River, with Soil-Borne Farms just upriver. Again, the synergistic value of preserving this site for the people of Sacramento, really, and especially the residents of Rancho Cordova. What I would ask you to envision is perhaps something that was done in Fair Oaks many years ago, probably, 10 years ago at least, was think of you have an opportunity here to do what we did in Fair Oaks when we saved the bluffs. So think of that project, that property, and what that has brought to the community. That is something I'd like to see explored for this bottom 20 acres of land that is known as the Cassis property. So thank you very much. I look forward to working with you and the community on really doing something better than what was been proposed so far by TrueMark, which is a travesty. Thank you very, very much.
I've received a speaker card from Debbie Cassis, who wishes not to speak at this time. I have also received a speaker card for Josh Gibson, who does not wish to speak at this time. The next speaker will be, I believe it's Roger Orton. Did I say that correctly? Okay, Roger, if you'll come forward.
Welcome, Roger.
Okay, my name's Roger Orton, and I'm the president of the Tiffany Farms Homeowners Association. So I've been actually there for 40 years, and I've gone through many different experiences in that. One of the things I have to think of, this is the last sanctuary that we have along the American River there. And what I've personally experienced, wild ducks, geese, coyotes, hawks, wild turkeys, eagles, herrings, deer, possum, skunks, and even a peacock in my backyard. So we've had a lot of different things like this. Now, I was shocked when we came up to July the 24th when I got this letter about this meeting, and it's the first time that I'd ever heard anything about that the zoning had been changed. And I've been there, like I said, for 40 years. And I went around and talked to other members there, and not any of them had remembered anything being sent out to us saying that they were going to make this change. So I think there's a deficiency in that part. The second part, when TrueMark made their presentation, it was like a fait accompli that they were just saying this is the way it's going to be. At least that's the impression that I got. And it's not that I'm against any kind of development. I'm not against it at all. But I think what we like to look at is two different sections there. We look at the upper section. I think the upper section is a very nice part to be developed. But when we start going, looking at my main concern is the lower one. And I have to say this from personal experience. Back in the mid-'80s, there was a big flood. And what I did is I went out to the very back of my property, and the whole area that they proposed developing was a lake. And when I say a lake, I mean a lake. All it was a lake where all the water came from the river. It was a complete lake across the whole thing with walnut trees sticking up out of the middle of it. Now, what happened is right where my property was, it was 6 inches at that point from going over and flooding our area. So when I sit there and think about what they're going to do is to take all this property, add 3 to 5 feet onto it, and compact the soil, that what they're going to do is have a runoff problem, and the runoff problem is going to end up being our problem. And I think this is a very serious thing to consider. And as I see, I don't think that they have looked at, they have addressed that particular problem there.
Please wrap up your comments.
Okay. So anyway, I'm grateful for the chance to be able to say this, and I think that seriously we need to consider that there needs to be engineering efforts showing what that will be, and then I think the bottom one should not be used for that. So thank you very much.
For those members of the public who submitted a speaker card and for the council, Debbie Cassis, just so you know, did oppose this project, and Josh Gibson also chose to oppose this project. Roger just spoke. Susan has also submitted a public comment card and chooses not to speak at this time, but she chooses to oppose this project. And next and last for this particular item in the room is Helen Whalen.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak. I do not live in the gated community. I have been at my house since 1983. I have seen that property go from 70 homes to 121 and 400 and some, and now 250 homes approximately. I believe the lower portion of that property should be turned into a park. Rancho Cordova could benefit from it. They could put a kiosk in and people could pay to picnic in that area. I walked that property, and when TrueMark gave their presentations, they had no clue that fishermen, for all the years I've been there, go down the bluffs. They fly fish in that area. We have a person that comes and does water samplings in that area. We have people who bottom out and they rip their rafts and they have to come up the bluff. And they're talking about raising elevations. The oak trees along the border, you can't raise the dirt anymore because they've already raised behind it. If they raise in front of it, they're going to kill the oaks. The walnut orchard is pristine. The walnut orchard supports an ecosystem that is unbelievable. We have hawks that are there. We have California king snakes that are there. We have the elderberry bushes that are there. There's a lot of stuff that they're not looking at. And for TrueMark to come in and not understand and not have current data to support what they're doing is a travesty. I believe that they need to reconsider giving up that easement off of Rio Del Mar, the one that comes up by the library, because that makes sense. I just think that Rancho Cordova needs to look at the full picture. That is heritage trees. No matter what you want to say, they're heritage. They have value to the community. And when you Google in that area, what happens? You see the word Cass Estates come up. Cass's Estates. Why don't we embrace that? They had 70 years in this community. We need to recognize the contributions they came because all the subdivisions in that area came from them. So I think the city needs to reconsider this, and there should be open communications with the people that affect it. I'm affected by that bike trail. If you open up Sterling and we have an emergency and I can't get out of Rod Beaudry, I'm going to be going into Sterling, which goes to a one-lane road because they park on both sides. You're creating a safety hazard. Thank you.
I also have 3 members of the public in Zoom with their hands raised that would like to speak. Now 4, it's unclear if it's the same topic, but I'm going to go in order with Jennifer going first. And Jennifer, I'm going to allow you to speak and you'll have 3 minutes.
Okay, hi, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, so my name is Jennifer Young-Hans, and I also am against this project. I think we absolutely need to leave it as an open space for wildlife. We continue to fragment habitat for wildlife, and we force them into smaller and smaller parcels of land that don't even meet their basic requirements. I'm an environmental journalist and a wildlife photographer, and I have also lived on the property in the gated East Tiffany Farms community that butts up against that walnut orchard that we're talking about developing. And over the years, I've documented so much of the wildlife in the landscape that's there. We have foxes and coyotes, bucks, beavers, river otters, bobcats, an unbelievable amount of birds, from bald eagles and ospreys with giant fish in their talons to groups of bucks swimming across the river from the property that is potentially going to be developed here, to the beautiful warblers that we have as they migrate in to a white-throated sparrow, which is rare for this region. We have great horned owls that live on that property. And I could go on, but we're limited in time here. But this property is a sanctuary, and we need to save it. And I think that Rancho Cordova has an opportunity to make a different choice and set a standard for how we can choose to live in harmony with nature. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. The next speaker will be John. And John, I'm also going to allow you to speak at this time.
Thank you. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
I apologize. I was going to appear in person, but I got caught at work. But I wanted to make my opposition to the development known. I've lived on East Tiffany Lane for almost 30 years on the west side of the property. My name is John Hallisey, Hallissy. My property abuts the river. And in addition to the points previously made, which I'll discuss briefly, my point is that the process needs to be open and transparent. And what has gone on so far has been anything but. On the issue of the ecological impact of the property, just this morning, the 6 o'clock this morning when I'm driving to my office, I'm driving out and the coyote is walking down the street. I see coyotes every day. There are deer. You see the coyotes swimming across the river, peacocks, and as people have said. The other issue that I think is even more important than the ecology, which is important, is there's a huge safety issue. I've lived there, as I said, since the early 1990s. 1995, the river was literally within a foot of the top of the levee. And if you have not seen that river when it's flooding, and it's basically a quarter-mile across from my property over to Carmichael, it's an unbelievable force. And the property in question, as Roger said, I wasn't around in 1986, but I was around in 95, was flooded. And if you compact that soil and raise it up, the water is going to go somewhere, and it's going to come into East Tiffany, which, if you don't know, has levees on four sides. We're basically a bathtub. There's the levee on the river, and then Rod Boundary is a levee. And we're surrounded, and if water runs in, there's no way to get it out, and someone is going to get hurt. The other issue that needs to be looked at is access to the river and what you're going to do with people coming up and down that river, which is dangerous. I have firemen, the fire department, literally on my property pretty much every week during the summer doing rescues of the rafters, because there are a number of rafters and they come down and there's a lot of activity. And if you put 200 and something homes on the Cassis estate, you're going to have people walking up on our levee. There's going to be really no barrier to have them come up into our backyards. So I was shocked at the August 5 meeting. If this is the way that TrueMark is going to handle it, we were not given proper notice. Then at the meeting, they didn't handle it where you could have some kind of interaction with others. You didn't know who was opposing it. You didn't know who was asking questions. It was a totally closed process. It was basically a sales pitch. It was an hour sales pitch, which is not the way to elicit concerns from the community. So what I ask is that the people who are affected, the residents, be part of the process. We love that land. As Roger said, we're not against development, but it has to be development that works for everyone. And I thank you for your time.
Thank you. The next speaker will be Gay Jones.
Oh, there we are. Thank you very much. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, council members. Happy birthday, Council Member McGarvey.
Thank you.
And thanks everyone for pitching in this COVID realignment of our meetings. I participated in the previously mentioned presentation by TrueMark, and I would like to offer a few suggestions that could make this more palatable. I totally agree with all previous comments that the riverfront should be made the public park. By moving the existing public park in the tentative subdivision map to the river, that opens up more acreage, so you can indeed put homes on that proposed parkland in the middle. So you wouldn't necessarily be losing rooftops. They might be less advantageous for the developer, but there's still a possibility to have the same amount of rooftops. I would encourage the city of Rancho Cordova to take this opportunity to expand public park access. The comments about that being a beautiful view is very, very true. This is one chance to get it right, and I know that everyone's hearts are really trying to do that. Second, a stoplight is needed at Folsom and the exit. I understand the Mira del Rio would have to cross a drainage ditch, and you'd have to work with county. It might be expensive to put in the bridge for connectivity, but that option should remain open. In the meantime, you need a stoplight onto Folsom Boulevard. The traffic study, which my understanding from the earlier meeting with Trumark is supposed to come out in December. Well, I would like to see the impact to Bradshaw and Folsom, as well as Mayhew and Folsom with the increased traffic. That will be critical for a quality of life stance for that development and existing residents. And the final thing is the concern about, there are several, I believe it was 10 to 12 homes have their front door on Folsom Boulevard. If you travel the 20 miles from downtown Sacramento out to Folsom Boulevard, you have about 2 or 3 houses that actually front Folsom Boulevard. So that reconsideration in an overall planning process, I think would be very, very beneficial to those future occupants. I understand the need for extra housing, for additional rooftops. It's very, very important, but these are having public access to the American River Parkway and having rooftops and having a decent traffic flow. They are not mutually exclusive if everyone works together. Thank you.
The next speaker will be Leslie Aldridge.
Great. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Wonderful. So thank you so much for taking the time to hear all these comments. I know there are lots of them, but I wanted to just think about the fact that if there are 200 homes, that means there will be probably about 250 to 300 cars added to all of the traffic that's already on Folsom, as well as traveling down Rod Beaudry. As just to echo what everyone else has been saying, there's going to be a lot of traffic congestion. Also, I wanted to point out that as far as the different protected species, there was a mention that there's elderberry plants there. The Valley elderberry longhorn beetle is a protected species, and I was wondering if an environmental impact study had been done to help assess what would be impacted in that particular area. Anyway, thank you so much. That's all the comments I have.
Thank you. And the next speaker is Jeanette Blomberg. Jeanette, are you there?
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. So thank you. I'm Jeanette Blomberg, and I'm just returning back to Rancho Cordova, having been in the Bay Area for the last 24 years. I lived on River Mist Way for about 8 years, and I'm moving back to my parents' home on East Tiffany Lane. And I have spent many hours along the river, both in the parkway and along the riverbank there at East Tiffany Lane, enjoying the beauty of that area. And I'll echo what so many others have said, all the species that we see, the beauty that this area provides for the people of Rancho Cordova and Sacramento more broadly. So I was really dismayed when I learned just last week, in my case, that a subdivision was being planned on the last undeveloped stretch of the American River that is within the boundaries of Rancho Cordova. And so this, from my perspective, is a very valuable piece of property for Rancho Cordova that should be enjoyed by all Rancho Cordovans.
Almost done, babe.
It would be a shame for me to, in my view, to build a dense subdivision on the land, one of the last stretches of land along the American River that retains the imprint of both its prehistoric and its historic past. Native peoples lived on this land. As others have said, there's a walnut orchard there, which is part of the heritage of this region, the agricultural heritage of this region. So I'm here tonight to urge the council to carefully consider their decision about how the property should be developed so that it enriches the heritage of Rancho Cordova and preserves the site for all Rancho Cordovans to enjoy and a place for wildlife to call their home. So from what I've seen of the plans of the Casas subdivision, it would be extremely short-sighted decision to allow this subdivision to go forward without an environmental impact report or something akin to that, and an open and inclusive discussion about how best to manage this last stretch of Rancho Cordova land along the American River. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. I would also like to acknowledge that the city received 2 emails with regards to public comment. Those have been provided to the city council and have been printed for those in attendance and are in the back of the room. One is from James and Janelle Lojas. The second is from Robert Van Cleef. And we have another speaker who has just raised their hand in Zoom, and that is Dawn. Dawn, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, and you'll have 3 minutes.
Hello, my name is Dawn Eklund. I also live on East Tiffany Lane. And Linda, thank you so much for all the times we've talked on the phone. I appreciate it, and I appreciate the rest of you council people for all that you have done over the years. I want to echo everything everyone else has said. It's amazing to me that this is the last real valuable piece of land on the river. And it really is a gateway to Rancho Cordova. And this really could be an amazing gateway into the city, having a park there rather than having too many homes. 250 homes on 41 acres is just a lot of dense housing on such an amazing piece of valuable land, excuse me, along the American River. So I know that you probably wouldn't want this in your neighborhood, so you can understand why we wouldn't want this in our neighborhood, as well as the flooding issues, the ecological issues, the Native American issues. There's just so many things that I feel still need to be discussed, along with the traffic study and the traffic that has been talked about. Rod Beaudry is definitely an issue for fire trucks to get through. So thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. And that's all the public comment that the city has under general public comment.
Council, if I may, I just wanted to make a few clarifying comments about this project. This project is in the early stages of the development process with our planning division and won't be heard by the city council until probably around early 2021. In between now and then, the developers are required to do some technical work, some technical analysis that they have initiated, and as the work becomes available, we would make that information available to the public. We're also working on developing a project website to provide all the most up-to-date information on the project and the status, including the technical studies and the work that is going to be conducted and available for public review. But as I mentioned, this project will not be heard by the council until the early 2021. Our project website will also have contact information for staff members working on the project in case if questions come up during that process. So the information we will try to keep this as transparent as possible as we progress in the development of the project. So more to come on that, and I just wanted to make sure that the members of the public and those that participated are clear on where we are with the project at this point.
Stacy, go get David.
I think the question is typically we don't really engage in conversations at this public comments, and since this item is not on the agenda, so I turn the meeting back to Mr. Mayor.
Do you have a quick question you'd like to ask?
Quick question. How did this project get rezoned without any of us knowing about it?
Okay. So this, the zoning of the project or the site happened as part of our Folsom Boulevard specific plan that was a follow-up to the city's general plan that happened approximately 11 years ago. So it was a complete process that happened. I'm sorry, I don't know, I don't have the entire background on as how the communication protocol happened at that time, but it went through a very formal process of the specific plan back in 2010-11. And I'll be happy to have staff to contact you outside of the meeting so we can provide some specifics on the work. I'll be happy to do that.
Cyrus, at some point, can we confirm that? Because I had a member of the public ask me, and the answer that I had received was 2006 was the rezoning of this, not 2010. So I don't.
Impossibility.
Yeah.
Okay. So
we need to verify.
What,
okay.
14 years ago. Yeah.
Yeah.
And if I'm not correct, because I can't remember when we had the workshop, but this was zoned for arena site. This was also zoned for multifamily housing to be on this site. So when I hear lots of density, and I haven't seen the final proposal, but what I'm guessing has been zoned proposed is a lot less dense than what was zoned there. As far as from what I understood, I wasn't around when the rezoning happened.
We will verify this information and provide that information to everybody.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you all for coming. You're welcome to stay the rest of the meeting if you like. If you don't, thank you for the public comments. It's nice to see people back in the room, even in these days. Of course, we're doing it very safely. For those of you who can't see the audience, everyone's spaced out 6 feet or more apart, chairs sort of scattered. We used to be able to seat, 100 people in here. Now we can seat about 10. So it's a nice, safe setup. All right, colleagues, we are on to item number 7, council reports. And Mr. McGarvey, you are up first.
Thank you. I want to say thank you for your happy birthday this evening, and thanks to all the folks that came to the public comment and said happy birthday to me on that also. I'm kind of concerned. If you notice in the horizon, the smoke is there again from fires. And I'm not sure how many fires we have in California right now. I know we have one big one in Southern California and one in Northern California, but there are so many others who aren't quite as large as that. But it really is something to be concerned about. My son is working out there in the public and he really was concerned about the smoke. You could smell some of the fires, and so it's something that we're going to have to keep our eyes open and pay attention to what's going on with the fire season. I think it's 365 days a year now. Schools are in session, and like many other people, we're helping our grandkids, and some people have their kids, and they're looking at the way you're doing school now. It's a different kind of a way for our granddaughter, for instance. She's starting kindergarten, and usually kindergartners are very busy people with each other, and they learn about socializing and everything, but it's we're going to keep on working on it, and hopefully by the end of this year, or maybe by the first of next year, I'm not sure what you think about it, David, but having a vaccine or something that would be beginning to help people get back into some sort of season, that they can get back into their jobs and get back into school and all the rest of the sort of thing. You did a very good job, David, on the TV that I saw, letting people know that they can come to City Hall because of the 112-degree weather we have, and you can come to City Hall and cool down and get some snacks. Just take it easy and get out of that horrible temperature. When you're out there and it's just as still as it is sometimes, it's really not healthy at all. So thank you for letting everybody know that they can come to City Hall in Rancho Cordova.
Thank you, Bill.
And one more thing, congratulations to Harry Elliott and his others that they began the first development of Rio del Oro. That was something that was been waiting for a long time too. So that's all I've got. Thank you.
All right, very good. Moving on to Linda.
Thank you, David. So once again, our regional transit meeting was pretty much a non-entity. The vast majority of any kind of business was conducted in closed session, and that's really basically why we continue to meet, so that those things that need to be discussed in closed session can continue to move along, because otherwise there's not a lot going on. I second Bob in congratulating Harry. It was 24 years ago when that project was brought to the Rancho Cordova Chamber, and Kurt and I served on a committee to look at the project and provide some comments about what it should be. And needless to say, it's pretty much changed dramatically to suit the needs of the city today. David was absolutely correct in pointing out that piece of ground that they are in the process of developing is as large as the city of downtown Sacramento, between the two rivers and the two freeways. You can fit the entire downtown Sacramento into that project. So it's pretty remarkable. Mixed use, residential, office, commercial, Folsom Cordova's next high school and junior high, and a public library, and incredible open space, trails, connectivity to Highway 50, connectivity to properties to the east and to the south. Pretty remarkable piece of property. And oh, by the way, it's got hills and rolling terrain. It's not flat as a board like everything else in Rancho Cordova. And then just to remind everybody that we need to end on a sad note, or I need to end on a sad note. We've lost two really important people in Rancho Cordova. One of them was the second generation of one of the founding families of Rancho Cordova. And curiously, speaking of the Tiffany Farms area, Don Guston's family owned the property at the corner where the Methodist, I'm not getting that correctly, it's Presbytery is located. It was originally an office building. And they also owned a parcel further up the boulevard, up Rod Boundary, David, adjacent to your neighborhood, a 3-acre parcel where there were Native American ruins, but it was intended to be a family home site. Don's father is one of the people who was part of the 25,000 strong Aerojet, got laid off after the space race was essentially over into financial management, and built the 2 buildings at the corner of Rod Boundary and Folsom Boulevard. And then, of course, we also want to celebrate the life of Larry Stafford. And Shelley's article in the newspapers is absolutely to the point. Larry has been one of our leading citizens, not only in his church, in his community, but also at Cordova Community Council, and we will all miss him deeply. So we should adjourn tonight in memory of Don Guston and Larry Stafford.
Linda, can you pull up the thing that Shelley wrote about Larry? And we'll either read it now or read it at the end. Maybe we'll read it at the end of the meeting. I don't know if you can access it, or we'll have staff access it. Okay, I'm happy to read it as well. If someone can provide that to me by the end of the meeting.
Yeah,
I'll find it before we're done.
yeah, I'd be happy to, David, but I'm not sure I know where to
Staff
find
here
it.
we might be able to get it from the lobby, actually. Okay, thank you for that, Linda.
David, was it in the grapevine?
I think so. I saw it electronically, so I'm not sure I saw it in print yet. All right.
Okay.
Donald, you're up next.
Yeah, first, Linda, I don't think I knew the other Dawn, but I also wanted to say that, as a new council member that knew my neighborhood, knew my school district, and when I got on the council, Larry was really gracious in welcoming me to the council and my service, and I really enjoyed getting to know him and working with him over the years. And we definitely lost a pillar of our community with his passing. Yeah, so Rio del Oro, it almost felt like we were getting back to just some little sense of normalcy, going out, getting some shovels, getting some hard hats, and doing something like we used to do. Hang on, let me turn this on. So it was great to see everybody, even behind the masks. I knew who most of you were, but it was really nice to just be out with the rest of you and celebrate this momentous occasion that 8 years on this council. I really felt like we would have done that groundbreaking a long time ago. But it's great that we're here. It's great that it's getting started, and to see the dirt's going to get moved, and some of the big trucks and vehicles are out there now. That project really is the connector between the South Douglas, Anatolia area and the rest of Rancho Cordova. And back over to Stone Creek and everything else. I really feel like we're still in this point where you have this side of Highway 50, that side of Highway 50, that side of Zinfandel, and we have all these pockets. And when Rio finally gets activated, we're finally going to start building out that connection to our business park and to the rest of the community. So it's really, really exciting to see it happen. And then I don't think there's been much to say as far as the school district 2x2s, which is most of the 2x2s that I'm on. Everyone really is in a holding pattern at this point. I did see that Santa Cruz County came off of the governor's watch list. So some counties are actually coming off of the list, and we're seeing a handful of school districts in this state that are opening up and having kids come back onto campus. In some cases, fully back onto campus with full classrooms. In parts of this state, in Shasta County and a couple other places. So I think it'll be a wait and see, and see how these counties that do come back, how they fare as far as the pandemic, and what things we can glean from them as we look at other school districts and them opening. But at this point, Sac City Unified, Elk Grove, and Folsom Cordova have no plans that they've shared with me or any of my colleagues that serve on those 2x2s with me that they're preparing for an imminent return. The Air District did not meet last month, so I don't have much to say there. Kudos to staff and everybody and the communications team in getting word out about our cooling station. Luckily we all live in Sacramento County. We have SMUD, and so at the moment we're not worried about rolling blackouts like large parts of this state are. So yet another reason to live in Sacramento County and to live in Rancho Cordova is you have reliable power during a heat wave like this. But everyone, please stay safe. Not just a pandemic. Now we're got to worry about the lights staying on and staying hydrated, and just take care of your fellow human being and neighbor. That's it for me.
Very good. Garrett.
All right. Had a meeting at STA. It took 15 minutes, maybe less, where they said there's nothing to really talk about, and they're talking about kicking the can down the road for the tax, and then we adjourned, so it's super fast. Congratulations to everyone that went into Rio de Oro. I know it was last council member to get on all this, but it's great to see it actually kick off. Special shout out to, of course, the Chamber of Commerce and Fight Development, all that groups really coming together to help us put together a plan, and the city working so hard. Amazing. I have an interesting story with Larry Stafford. He was one of the first people. So when I was coming up with the idea with a couple other members on council of the religious council, which is, the interesting story is how Rancho Cordova was the site where three, I think it was either Catholic or Lutheran ministers left from different cities and all arrived at Rancho Cordova. And those three churches that are basically based were the thought that someone said that God basically put it on their heart for them to come to Rancho Cordova. So our city was started because two pastors and a priest, basically left where they were and moved to Rancho Cordova and started the city. So the interesting history of that, and Larry is one of the few people that actually told me all about that. And so, he was gung-ho on every kind of crazy idea he came up with. And so clearly I'm going to miss having his just wealth of knowledge. He's kind of like Alinda. Like, he knows everything and why everything actually happened. So, and it was great. It was, when he came in the meetings, it always was like a sense of calmness. So, gonna miss him. And lastly, I just like to say thank you to my staff, because I was meeting with a developer who's doing a presentation today, and he said nice things about us. He said our customer service and experience for working with Rancho Cordova is literally the best in the region. And when I first got on council, I had never heard that. And to hear developers actually coming to me, and it wasn't like I solicited out of them, but they literally said with Darcy, and I guess her name is June, did such a great job that it was a great experience developing new property. I think Woodside's coming to present today. I just want to say congratulations to them and Cyrus. He's really changed how everyone talks about Rancho Cordova when it comes to development. I mean, I wasn't hearing that people were happy to work with us. Like, literally someone went out of their way to tell me that they had a great experience. So congratulations to my staff. Great job. And I'm very impressed of how you've really turned it around to the point where developers actually approach me and will tell me what a great job you guys are doing. So that's all I got.
Thank you, Garrett. Let's see. Well, everyone's already talked about Rio de Oro. That was a great event. And Donald, I think you are exactly right. It did feel like days of old. Being out there, be able to do a groundbreaking and an event, a safe event. We kept it very safe, but that was a lot of fun. The amazing impact that's going to have, and the amazing partnership we have with Elliott Homes and Harry Elliott to get this project done in Rancho Cordova is going to have an enormous impact on us and the future of not only our residents, but future residents and current businesses in particular. Because as you stand there on that parcel, you could literally look over your shoulder and see tens of thousands of jobs in Rancho Cordova, literally right there next to the parcel. So I don't think we can abide any criticism about sprawl of a project like this. This is infill, because that is the region's largest private sector job center, and this is in direct support of that job center. And it's also in direct support of our current residents. We're going to get great new park facilities. We're going to be able to support more retail and a better variety of retail in Rancho Cordova. We'll have more facilities in general and great options for people for either move-up housing or translational housing, or to live right next to where they work instead of doing that long commute to the hinterlands. So I'm really excited about the future of Rio de Oro. It's the largest project we've ever undertaken in partnership as a city. So it's exciting. It's really exciting to see that come through. And frankly, it's been too long in the process. Now, there've been a couple of bumps in the way. Obviously, a virus this year, but there's also been even that more giant bump on the path was the real estate recession and bust a few years ago. And before that, it was the dot-com bust that probably put this off a little bit. So it's a giant project. It's come a long way, and it really is the future of Rancho Cordova. So it's very exciting. Thank you to staff, to colleagues, and to Elliott Homes for bringing that together. Can't wait to see what happens there next. The cooling centers that the city's offering. I did that interview, I guess, on Saturday. I think it was really hot outside, and I probably shouldn't betray this, but the person who was interviewing me, it was a Zoom interview, and she said, "Gosh, you seem so happy to be talking about this." And I said, it's not that I'm happy about the heat. I'm happy that we're able to do this for our residents. And by the way, whenever we do something in Rancho Cordova, we make it fun. And so this is not just a cooling center where you come to have some cold air blown around you. This is a cooling center where we've got family-friendly movies on and Wi-Fi and snacks and water, and you're completely COVID safe, and you're all spread out. And we're going to be there as long as you need us to be there. And yes, you can bring your service animal. So we're doing it in a way that I think is probably better than a lot of the competition, and I'm really proud of that. And I was trying to make the point that people shouldn't be afraid to partake of that service if they need it. We're happy to have them there, and we hope they have a good time as they can while they are there. So kudos to staff, by the way, for being flexible in how we roll those out. I don't know if we can even say when we're going to quit doing it, but basically it's every day from 12 to 6, or unless people need it longer. And it's right here at City Hall, and we're here until the weather cools off, whatever definition that is. There'll be plenty of announcements on our city website and through social media about how exactly we're doing that. Donald, I heard what you said about kids in school in these days of COVID, and I certainly hope we get to that point. As a virologist, the evidence is pretty clear now that young kids in particular do not have much risk, contrary to what you're hearing in the media, do not have much risk of spreading or contracting the virus. And it's clear that the deficits outweigh the benefits. We've heard that from the CDC, and you've heard that from basically every other country in the world where schools are open, except for here. There are dozens of studies talking about this, and I could go into enormous detail. I won't. I'll save you all that. But it's a point of great frustration now for me. I think at the last meeting here I mentioned there was a teen suicide due to the closure of schools. I've now heard about a second one. In California, we've had one death of an individual under the age of 18. Significant other complicating factors in that case. And we've had at least 2 suicides that I personally know of that are related to COVID. So it would seem that just on that count alone, we're going negative. Worse off with school closed than with it open. And I suspect there are a great deal more casualties due to school closure than any of us are aware of, because no one's really collecting that data. But hopefully, we can get to a point where the public is confident enough, understands the science well enough, and our leadership is brave enough to really do the proper risk mitigation and do what's best for these kids. Finally, I've got a little bit of a controversy I'll be in this week at SACOG. We do funding rounds every year, every other year, depending on funding cycles, where we open up, and historically we've done it through competition, to Sacramento, to our membership in the Sacramento region. And agencies like the city and the county put in applications to SACOG, and there's a scoring process. And those projects that score the best towards the goals that SACOG is mandated to pursue, which is decreased vehicle miles traveled, decreased greenhouse gases, all the state and federal regulations that are loaded on us. We do our best to meet those targets using the competition to gauge, which project is the best. And then, of course, there's also consideration about, what jurisdiction, what the jurisdiction's options are. So it's possible there are fewer options, and they'll get, more points for other things. It's not entirely about those goals that are forced upon us. There is a movement, however, this year, led by Sacramento County, near as I can tell, to get rid of all the competition and just open it up on a per capita basis. I've briefly told you about this before. I view it as a real risk. I think the majority of the board probably shares my opinion, but there will be quite a debate this Thursday at a board meeting as we hash out how we're going to do this year's competition or appropriation of those funds that come to us. If we choose a route that is not competition, we risk getting extra funds from the state and the federal government, as we have in the past, because of the competition. So it would probably give more certainty to various transportation directors to have a known source of revenue coming in, not have to go through a competition. But as a region, that's going to decrease the amount of money we have available for transportation. And of course, we are hugely short on dollars for transportation overall. So the idea of sort of willingly giving up some extra resources that we can gain through competition seems not a good idea to me. But if you guys have any comments on that or opinions on that, please do let me know. The debate will be, we've had it in committees already. The main debate will be this Thursday at the SACOG board.
David, who's pushing that idea? Did I miss that?
I'm not 100% certain, but I do know that Sacramento County seems to be the lead agency pushing for that. And I think they just want certainty in how many dollars they get every year so they can do multi-year planning. And, you know, there's a lot of things that SACOG can improve. And frankly, this discussion has led to good results, I think, on some detail level improvements in the process. More hand-holding, I'll put it sort of bluntly, more hand-holding in the process, you know, of how you apply and how you compete. And that's probably a good thing. You know, SACOG processes should not be black boxes or hidden away. They should be pretty open and clear about how those decisions are made. But near as I can tell, it's a Sacramento County-led effort.
Okay. Interesting.
All right, and council, I realize we have a closed session at the end of our meeting tonight. And given the importance of Larry to this community, I'm going to propose that I read the tribute that was in the grapevine now, rather than at the end of the meeting, because of the closed session. That's kind of an awkward transition. Is there any objection to that?
No, did you get it, David? I got it also.
Yeah, it's right here in the grapevine. It's not really short, but I will try to get through it in due time. I just want to say, you know, Larry was a friend of mine. I've spent time at his house. I've spent time with him on innumerable public events. He was my predecessor, I was his predecessor as president at the Cordova Community Council. So I'm currently sitting here as the past president of the Cordova Community Council. Larry's held that position for, I think, 10 years or somewhere near there. And he was my vice president before. Tremendous guy. So without objection, I'm just going to read this statement that was in the grapevine. It was written by Shelley Blanchard, who's the executive director of the Cordova Community Council. Larry Gene Stafford, a dedicated family man of the Christian faith and Rancho Cordova community leader, died August 5th, 2020, following a short illness. He was 70. Born in Sacramento on August 30th, 1949, to Arthur and Jacqueline Stafford, Larry led a life filled with family, building projects, world travel, and faith in God. Along the way, he led efforts which earned him the respect and love of the Rancho Cordova community. As chairman of the board of the Cordova Community Council Foundation for more than a decade, Larry presided over massive growth of the organization, seeing the group to greater heights with a simple and straightforward leadership. He accompanied the 2010 Rancho Cordova All-America City team into competition, helping bring home national honors to the community of which he was so proud. He served as chairman of the Cordova Community Council Christmas tree lighting in Rancho Cordova, almost from its inception 20 years ago, pairing his love of the community with his celebration of the birth of Christ. To support the tree lighting, he hosted a spaghetti fundraising each year on Labor Day weekend, which drew together hundreds of Cordova Church of Christ members and community residents. Through his service as outreach pastor at Cordova Church of Christ, he led church members to all corners of the community to assist with spirit of service projects. And of course, that had enormous levels of partnership with efforts here at the city. They were a welcome sight when they appeared to build a park at Cordova Meadows School, fix up fields for Cordova girls softball, paint picnic tables in public parks, and pick up roadside trash. After observing youngsters headed to school each morning, they opened the doors and invited them in for pancakes and a listening ear. So that church is open under normal times every day for breakfast for kids on their way to school. Larry was a fixture at Kids Day in the Park and the Rancho Cordova 4th of July. Along the 4th of July parade route, he and fellow church members distributed thousands of bottles of water over the years, helping happy celebrators survive the heat of the day and to enjoy festivities. Cookies for Cops, Cordova Christian Camp, Father's Day Barbecue, an annual spaghetti feed honoring the Rancho Cordova teachers, reading in schools, the Heart Winter Shelter for the Homeless, Shasta Men's Retreat, the Harvest Celebration, Bible Times Marketplace, repairs at the Mobile Country Club Park, repairing code enforcement violations for disabled residents all over the city occurred because Larry Stafford led the way. In his professional life, Larry enjoyed diverse pursuits. He spent part of his working career as an agricultural aviator and 25 years as a landscape contractor. For the past 25 years, his many interests and love of God came together as he served as an associate pastor at Cordova Church of Christ. During his tenure, he mentored new ministers, taught Bible studies, and led practical ministries, including His Needs, Her Needs. He provided premarital counseling for dozens of couples, presided at many weddings, and provided marriage counseling. He excelled at evangelism and baptized over 100 individuals during his ministry. A personable and loyal friend, widely known for a sharp wit and engaging sense of humor, Larry loved a good glass of wine, sharing times and stories with friends, traveling throughout the United States and Europe, and cooking. He was a hardcore Raiders fan. While living a life full of the richness of friends, Larry's life was blessed by his loving family. He's survived by the love of his life and best friend, Cynthia Marie Stafford of Rancho Cordova, to whom he's been married for 35 years. He's also survived by his daughters, Carrie Sheldon, Cynthia Belisha, Michelle Cater Laney, and son Larry and daughter-in-law Melanie. One of the greatest joys of Larry's life was his grandchildren, Cassie, Timothy, Marissa, McKenna, and great-granddaughters Gabriella and Chrissa. He was preceded in death by his parents, Arthur and Jacqueline, and by his brother Jim and Butch. Memorial donations may be made to advance the remodeling, this is perfect, of the church kitchen Larry used so effectively to minister to his church family and the Rancho Cordova community. And that is at the Church of Christ on 10577 Coloma Road, Rancho Cordova, California. He is a one-of-a-kind Rancho Cordovan who we cannot easily replace or certainly cannot forget. So thank you for allowing me that time. Cyrus, we are on to item number 8, City Manager's Report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you for reading this tribute to Larry Stafford. I too also had an opportunity to work with Larry very closely on many service projects in the community, and he will be greatly missed in our community. Looks like recently we've been talking about a lot of historic incidents, and yesterday I was part of a phone call on the State of California Emergency Services Office, the OES, and they were talking about this historic heat wave and the pressure that it's putting on energy system. They gave us some specific tips and information to follow to conserve energy that we have provided to our communications department, and they will be making that available to members of our community and also to our residents and businesses. So that look for that information. We will find a way to help our residents to save energy during this difficult time. And the only other thing I wanted to say, I wanted to thank Vice Mayor Gatewood for acknowledging the work of city staff. I have also been in communication with many applicants or people who do business with the city. And I have to say that we are probably one of the very, very few cities in our region that have stayed open during this time of crisis, during the COVID crisis. And our permit counter never closed. And I have heard many positive comments about the services that our staff have provided. So I want to take this opportunity to thank our staff and also some of the work that they have done related to the cooling center and the work we do as acknowledged by others. So just wanted to make sure that we take this opportunity and thank many members of the staff that are putting very long hours to serve our community and to help members of our community that are in need in this time of crisis. And that's all I have.
Very good, thank you. That takes us to item number 9, the consent calendar items. Consent calendar items consist of matters deemed routine and non-controversial by staff. Unless a member of the council wishes to pull an item for individual consideration, all items will be approved by one motion. This is with discussion to item 9.1. Is there a motion?
Move approval of 9.1.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Terry?
Aye.
Councilmember Budge?
Yes.
Councilmember McGarvey?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Gatewood?
Aye.
Mayor Sander?
Aye.
Thank you.
This brings us to consent public hearing items. Is this item to be continued?
Yes.
Okay. Consent public hearing items consist of matters deemed routine and non-controversial by staff. Unless a member of the council wishes to pull an item for individual consideration, all items will be approved by one motion. I'm going to open a public hearing. Presumably we will keep it open as we are continuing the item. And therefore I'm looking for a motion to continue the item.
So moved.
Continue the item to a date uncertain.
Motion made and seconded. Motion by Terry, second by Budge. Roll call, please.
Councilmember McGarvey?
Aye.
Councilmember Budge?
Yes.
Councilmember Terry?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Gatewood?
Yep.
Mayor Sander?
Aye.
Thank you.
That brings us to item number 11. If the clerk would read the subject for 11.1.
Amendments to the Sun Creek Specific Plan A 1264 acre, 1,264 acre mixed use development with a combination of residential uses, employment generating uses, retail and retail supporting services, project number DD 8467.
All right. Open a public hearing. Is there a staff report on this item?
Yes.
Not with us, but remote.
Remote, and just give us a moment. We will get everybody up and going. Darcy, are you there?
I hear a small dog. I don't hear Darcy. Linda, is that your dog?
That's a small dog with a giant voice. He's downstairs, believe it or not.
Downstairs. That's good. That's good. Good set of lungs. There's Darcy. Can't hear you yet, Darcy.
There you go.
Did you move June over? She's actually doing the presentation.
I did.
All right, very good. Whenever you are ready, please begin your presentation.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yep.
Oh, okay. Do I have control?
We're working on it.
Okay. Okay, I think I have control of it then.
Perfect.
All right. Good evening. This is Mayor and City Council members. This is June Cowles with the Planning Department. So tonight we're going to look at Sun Creek project. It's actually 3 projects coming up on the public hearing review. And all these 3 projects came in on different times. So it's pretty amazing that we all landed on
tonight. So it's located south of Sunridge Specific Plan and the Ranch Special Planning Area. The Sun Creek Specific Plan includes 6 neighborhood areas. And some history for the Sun Creek Specific Plan was that it was, in 2013, the approvals included an environmental impact report, the specific plan, public finance plan, development agreements, and the affordable housing plans. And the Sun Creek Specific Plan is organized into 2 volumes. Volume 1 is the conceptual or vision guideline on how this area should develop. Volume 2, that includes development standards. So the proposed Sun Creek Specific Plan main amendments are the adoption of the South Sacramento Habitat Conservation Plan into this plan, updated technical studies since the specific plan was adopted. That includes the drainage study updated. So the analysis demonstrated the basins were oversized. So the basins have been reduced in number, some altered in size and location, which shifted some of the land use designations. Land use acres and densities have been transferred between the neighborhood areas, but the overall unit count has decreased by 200 units. And so all land use figures have been amended to include the land use summary table. Also included is the circulation chapter, and that updated the current city standards and requirements. So the proposed specific plan also included a variety of other amendments. Within your staff report is a table 1 for the proposed comprehensive specific plan amendments. So that goes page by page. But the majority of these proposed changes were needed for clarification for current city long-range plans and infrastructure current conditions. So here's a comparison of the approved 2013 land use map and the amended land use map. So comparing them, the open space, commercial, and school locations have remained the same, except for one elementary school location has been eliminated. That's in the Grant Line 220 area. But the residential and public, quasi-public, and minor parks have shifted a little bit. And this shows the proposed amended land use map. So we're going to go through each neighborhood area and describe what has changed or what's being amended. So the Shallow neighborhood area, they reduced the number of detention ponds, and that's in blue. The compact medium residential was changed to medium density residential. That has not changed any of the layouts. It was actually a correction from the 2013 specific plan. That actually belonged in the medium density residential. And a reduction of the public, quasi-public land, and that's in the purple color. And that includes a water treatment plant, and also a fire station has been relocated to another neighborhood area. The Callahan and Gilmartin neighborhood, this shows the 2013. And as you can see, they really haven't changed a lot. The addition and relocation of the public, quasi-public land, which is in purple. So some of the things have moved from Shallow into this area. The Sierra Sunrise neighborhood, the North Campus Road has been realigned. There's a reduction of the number of detention ponds, and they have been resized. So that's in the blue area. Compact medium and high density residential has been rearranged a little bit because of that North Campus Road realignment, and then the sizing of the detention ponds. And then some of the parks and corridors, they've just been rearranged. For Grant Line 220 neighborhood, this is the proposal for the gated age-restricted community. That is proposed right now, so we have a project in for review. So it's a reduction of the number of detention ponds, and those also have been resized. Age-restricted category has been included in the table. Private parks, they are replacing the public parks. And compact, medium, and high-density residential, that has been rearranged as well. And the public, quasi-public has been relocated. And the regional town commercial, that's also been resized. And also the elementary school has been eliminated due to the age-restricted gated community. So the circulation chapter map amendments, those include, as I said, the North Campus Road realignment at Americanas Boulevard. That's been shifted to the south. That was part of the Sierra Sunrise. Grant Line 220 trail shifted to the east. A trail is now along Americanas Boulevard instead of going through the neighborhood. And the Sierra Sunrise Trail shifted from the east side of the park to the west side of the park. And to this map, they added preliminary traffic signals location. For environmental, there was the environmental impact report approved. It includes the mitigation monitoring report program. There is no new information of substantial importance that was not known as a previous EIR that would require changes. For these reasons, pursuant to CEQA guidelines section 151, projects consistent with the community plan, general plan, or zoning. So no further environmental analysis is required. Staff recommends that the City Council follow that the Sun Creek specific plan amendments are pursuant to CEQA guidelines section 15183 and introduce and waive the first reading of the ordinance approving the Sun Creek specific plan amendments with the inclusion of the amendment figures 2-7 and 5-2. And that was the neighborhood gateway location. They had one just shift along Kiefer Road. So just shifted a couple hundred feet over to the intersection of Kiefer Road and Americanas Boulevard, or Kiefer Boulevard and Americanas Boulevard. And with that, if you have any questions, and the applicant, Larry Gilzine, is here as well, if you have any questions for him.
Okay, thank you very much for that report. That was well done. I think if the applicant would like to say something at this point, we could do that. Otherwise, I'm going to go to public comment.
Thank you, Mayor Sander. This is Larry Gilzine, and just very brief comments that thank you, first of all, for hearing the specific plan amendment tonight. As noted in the staff report and in June's presentation, the specific plan amendment is an update that reflects some of the additional planning that's taken place since the specific plan was approved in 2013. Updating for a lot of the technical study updates that have been done to water, sewer, and drainage, as well as the land use changes that have been taking place in the individual project plans within the specific plan area. This amendment has taken us a considerable amount of time to pull together, and part of that is that the individual projects are concurrently working on some of their tentative maps, and so you've got the changing of maps concurrent with trying to update the composite land use plan in the specific plan area. And so you got to get to the point where everything stops enough that you can reflect it in the amendment and get it before you. So while these three hearing items that you have tonight are each came in at separate times. The fact that we're coming here before you tonight is somewhat related to the fact that it took time to get it all to come to a stopping point at the same time. So thank you again for hearing our item. We look forward to your vote, and David Wade, the consultant who helped us with the specific plan amendment, and I would be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
All right, thank you very much. Do we have any public comment on this item?
We have one public comment in the room, Josh Gibson, or not. Let me read Josh's card. Josh does not wish to speak, and he opposes the project.
Okay. Very good. Council, any comments or questions? Linda.
Here, I do. I have one question and two editorial comments. First of all, in the maps, for anybody, when we're talking about either school sites or detention basins or whatever, there are nice squares shown. Can we just assume that these things are not intended to end up as a perfect square or rectangle, but that's just a representation of an area to be inhabited by whatever the public facility is?
Yeah, I'll respond to that, Councilmember Budge. So yes, the parcels may be shown on here as that shape, but the trails that'll be in the perimeters around those basins will be designed to have a naturalized look. There will be trails that go around them. Those will be kind of meandering trails with landscape and all. So that will have a different look when you see it at a small lot tentative map stage.
I figured. Thank you. I just wanted to confirm that. First editorial comment is that item 6.6, I will always object to the removal of purple pipes for treated wastewater, but I realize that as a matter of policy, we eliminated that going back maybe 10 years ago, and I'm sorry, I think that's incredibly short-sighted, and I hope if Dan were here, he would agree with me.
Linda, we could reenact our debate from back then. I think I still remember it.
Actually, it wasn't that long ago because Linda, if I remember, I was here when we voted to change that policy.
Ah, all right.
And I also remember that you missed that meeting.
Well, you know,
yeah, it's been less than 8.
Okay, so at the time, it was considered simply a cost-saving measure and something that was probably not practical, but you have to look at Laguna West and acknowledge that while it took them 20 years, on the other hand, they now have purple pipes to provide landscape irrigation as opposed to wasting domestic water. And I
would love to have this debate someday and point out how much closer Laguna West is to the source of that water, but we can probably do that some other day.
I know. So
Yeah,
then the other one is probably
the big problem there was the missing $100 or $150 million, whatever it was going to take.
It was more than that, I thought.
It might have been. I don't remember exactly. It was a lot, a whole lot.
So then the last editorial comment is really just one for David Wade, probably. My friend David Wade. I don't understand why. I mean, I am a complete supporter of the age-restricted projects. I think you all know that. I do not understand why they would be located as far from civilization and other assets, public assets, shopping assets, any other assets as possible. That just, to me, makes no sense when retiring seniors do not necessarily want to just go hang out somewhere. They would like to be able to walk, drive, bicycle, to shopping, to libraries, to parks, to whatever, you know? So I just, I would not vote against this because of that, but when we think about things like senior housing in the future, let's for Pete's sake put it next to something that's entertaining. We all know that there may be Cordova Hills in the future, and the intersection of Chrysanthi and Sunrise could be a significant intersection. But kind of like the Purple Pipe, that's a long way off. That's my editorial comment.
Okay, Mr. Terry, you have a comment?
No, I think Linda covered it.
Oh, I thought I heard you saying something. Let's see, Bob,
Just
Garrett?
myself. Never mind.
Bob, Garrett, anything?
No, I just enjoyed the debate, so I'll sit back and listen, but I'm going to vote for it, so.
Okay, I think these are good developments, good modernization of the plan. We need to, maintain flexibility going forward. Things change over time, and I hope this is a good representation of how our city staff works, and our city staff and the council here work together to get these plans to where they need to be for optimal development, not only for the future residents, but the future health of us as a city institution. So that's, congratulations everyone on that good work. If there's no other public comments, I'm going to close the public hearing. And I think we're ready for a motion.
Move the item.
Motion by Terry, second by Gatewood. Is that what I heard? Bob?
Yeah. McGarvey.
Oh, sorry, McGarvey. Roll call, please.
Councilmember McGarvey?
Aye.
Councilmember Budge?
Yes.
Councilmember Terry?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Gatewood?
Yep.
Mayor Sander?
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, that takes us on to item 11.2. If the clerk would announce that subject, please.
Sun Creek Specific Plan Administrative Amendments and Sierra Sunrise Large Lot and Small Lot Tentative Subdivision Maps, Project DD 9862. And we are moving over several applicants.
Populating the room with the right people.
Yes.
When you're ready, we can do a staff report.
Okay. This is Jim Cowles with the Planning Department again, and this is Sierra Sunrise Large and Small Lot Tentative Subdivision. So we included the administrative amendments to the Sierra Sunrise, but because Sun Creek Specific Plan was just approved, those administrative amendments were included in the Sun Creek Specific Plan. So we're only going to be looking at the large lot and small lot maps. So Lennar, this is a Sierra Sunrise location, and Lennar is the applicant. 243 acres, and this is the existing condition map. Dry land, farming, and grazing, and the Laguna Creek tributary transects the plan area. So the applicant is requesting for the Sierra Sunrise large lot tentative subdivision map and the small lot tentative subdivision map. The large lot includes it's 243 acres, and it's going to be split into 20 large lots. So the large lot creates boundaries for multiple land uses and zoning districts and the major roadways.
This next one is the small lot map. There's a total of 1,046 residential units and 108 acres of open space, parks, buffers, and landscape corridors. The small lot shows the protection of the 48.4 acres wetland preserve. It includes detention basins totaling 18.4 acres, and the detention basins are going to be designed to have a natural appearance to them with a trail. Direct trail sidewalk connections to the Sierra Sunrise Parks, and the connection to the Sun Creek Community Park, which is to the west. 3 neighborhood parks, a total 8.2 acres. And the small lot includes a grid-type street layout, offering a connected neighborhood, so limiting cul-de-sacs. And some of the cul-de-sacs that are included also have a pedestrian connection out. Single-loaded streets are provided along the wetland preserve and detention basin, and a range of densities include low, medium, and high density residential. Also included is a section of the medium compact residential, and that includes alley loaded units. So the Sierra Sunrise Trail map includes Class 1 trails, 12 foot wide along Americanas Boulevard, and then also a Class 1 10 foot wide trail. So it was approved, the EIR was approved November 18, 2013, and the project is pursuant to CEQA Guidelines Section 15183. It's consistent with the community plan, general plan, and zoning. Staff recommends that the City Council find that the Sierra Sunrise project map are consistent with CEQA Guidelines Section 15183 and adopt the resolution for approving the large lot and small lot tentative subdivision map attached with conditions of approval. And the applicant, Stan Meddy, also has a PowerPoint presentation that he'd like to give right now.
Wait for that to come in.
We're pulling it up.
Thank you. Thank you. So first of all, I just want to thank council and staff, particularly staff, for their help getting this project to this night's hearing. We've worked through a number of issues as we've worked through the application process. They help keep us focused, and we wouldn't be here tonight without their help. So with that, I'll get started on the presentation. Try not to be duplicative of what June has already presented. 243 acres, 1,046 dwelling units. Next slide, please. So I just want to point out there are 6 different lot sizes in this project, everything from small lot, alley loaded, up to traditional residential, all wrapped around 3 park sites within the project. I'll speak in more detail about further down in the presentation. Next slide, please. So the next 6 slides we'll work through quickly. It's just intended to show you the distribution where each respective lot size is located within the plan area. Go ahead, next slide, June. You can just keep working through those. Thank you. And then lastly, the alley loaded product. Okay, multifamily site. This is a 5-acre multifamily residential site. It is shifted slightly, but still located at the corner of North Campus Road and Americanos. There are 168 dwelling units allocated to this property. And again, the lot size, the size of the multifamily property is consistent with the original plan. Next slide, please. So there are 3 park sites located within the plan. We'll talk about in greater detail. This slide shows the location. The larger one in the south area of the plan is a CRPD park, and then the other 2 that are north and south will be local parks. Please continue to the next slide. And this slide is intended to show the detail. We've looked at the more passive amenities within the city-owned parks, and I caution that the amenities shown on the CRPD park to the left, they have their own planning process, park planning process that they will go through subsequent to approval of this project. So they caution us that what we're showing on this plan is conceptual only. Next slide, please. Again, this is the 4.5 acre CRPD park located at the center of the project. Next slide. And then the two smaller city-owned neighborhood greens. One is a total of 3.7 acres total between the two of them, and they are well connected by a series of trails and pathways that we will describe further. Next slide, please. And then lastly, there's a remnant parcel within our property that will be part of a broader community park to be located west of Sierra Sunrise. It's about 0.8 acres and represented with the green triangle shown on this slide. Next slide. And then you've previously seen the regional trails slide that June shared with you. This slide is intended to show you how our trail connections internal to Sierra Sunrise connect with the broader planned trail or bicycle map. Next slide. And then you've seen this version already, so I'll continue past, but this is just intended to show you that there are of the 12-foot regional class 1 trail and the 10-foot city class 1 trail system within our project as originally planned in the pedestrian and bicycle master plan. Next slide, please. There are two grade separated crossings located within Sierra Sunrise. They are circled for your benefit on the slide before you. We are working cooperatively with the city to address whether those are going to be under or over crossings. We will be working on that planning effort going forward. Next slide. With that, the project team, I'm here along with Sean McDermott and Bob Shattuck and Jeff Carpenter to answer any questions you may have.
Very good. Thank you for those presentations. I am going to open the public hearing and ask if we have any public comment on this matter.
Josh Gibson, who is not present and does not wish to speak, opposes the project.
Okay.
Filled out a card.
If there are council comments, this would be the appropriate time. Or questions? I will just reiterate what I said earlier. I think this is a great project moving forward. It's great to see it modernized and updated and penciled in fine detail by cooperation between applicant and staff. Glad to see that that is working well. I'm proud of how that works. If nobody has anything else to add, I guess we are open for a motion.
So moved.
Second that.
Motion by Terry, second by McGarvey. I'm going to close the public hearing. And roll call, please.
Councilmember Terry?
Aye.
Councilmember McGarvey?
Aye.
Councilmember Budge?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Gatewood?
Yeah.
Mayor Sander?
Aye.
Thank you.
Congratulations. Good work, guys.
Thank you all.
All
Thank
right.
you.
We are going to move on to item number.
I look forward to another groundbreaking very soon.
I forgot to add, with heavy equipment. Ideally, the council members get to drive a little, or staff. That would be fun. That's just a suggestion.
Yeah, somebody set a high bar on that, didn't they?
Never had more heavy equipment than we saw at Rio. So there's your challenge. All right, we're moving on to item.
About that.
We're going to move on to item 11. I can't imagine the insurance for that. Item 11.3, if the clerk would read that item, please.
I hope I pronounced this correctly. Shalico? Large lot.
Calico.
Thank you. Large lot tentative subdivision map.
Okay, staff report.
Okay, so the final project tonight is the Shalico large lot map. Here's the existing site conditions. It's located at the southeast corner of Sunrise Boulevard and Kiefer Boulevard. So the large lot map will subdivide 321.4 acres into a total of 37 large lots. And I'm going to go over to a colored, just to give you a little bit better view of where the open space is. So 10 separate single-family residential villages, 1 multi-family high density, 2 village center parcels, 1 elementary school, 2 wetland preserve parcels, 2 detention basin parcels, and 2 parks and 1 neighborhood green. And then there's various public, quasi-public, and open space buffers and corridors. So the Shallow investors, they do not intend to develop the residential villages on its property itself. The large lot map would allow for sale of the property in total. And with that, it's also part of Sun Creek Environmental Impact Report, and it's pursuant to the CEQA guideline 151. It's consistent with the community plan, general plan, or zoning. Staff recommends the City Council find that the large lot map is pursuant to Section 15183 and adopt the resolution for the large lot tentative subdivision map with attached conditions of approval. And the applicant, Larry Gilzine, is here if you had any questions.
Okay, with that, I will open the public hearing. The applicant want to add anything? If not,
Just briefly,
go right ahead.
Just briefly, you've heard most of the main project information between the specific plan amendment and the large lot map presentation by June. And the large lot map conforms with the specific plan amendment. So I will be happy to respond to any comments, but won't go through it again.
Okay. Any public comment on this item?
No, we do not.
All right. Council, any comments or questions? Rather straightforward item. Okay, I'm going to close.
Hearing none, I'll move the item.
Close public hearing. A motion by Terry.
Second.
Second by Budge. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Terry?
Aye.
Councilmember McGarvey?
Aye.
Councilmember Budge?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Gatewood?
Yep.
Mayor Sander?
Aye.
Thank you.
All right, congratulations. That moves us on to item number 12, regular calendar items, and item 12.1. If the clerk could read that, well, I'll just read it. Utility box art wrap project. So we have a presentation on our utility box art wrapping. And it appears Stacy Delaney is here for that.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm Stacy Delaney, the Community Enhancement Analyst. And tonight I will be presenting information about a new initiative that's going to be starting tomorrow. Persephone, do you want to advance it? It doesn't want to move forward. Okay. There we go. So as I just shared, we are going to launch a new public art initiative starting tomorrow. And before we do that, I'm going to recap for you some different ways in which Rancho Cordova is already an artful place to live, work, and have fun. I'll provide an update on what's been happening since the adoption of the Art Strategic Plan and the formation of the Art Stakeholder Group. And I'll also share details about the call for artists that's going to be launched tomorrow and the timeline for the overall public art initiative. City Council has been a very generous supporter of arts and culture in Rancho Cordova through the award of numerous Community Enhancement Fund grants. The city sponsored events like the recent Summer Spark drive-through event, which brought whimsical art, mutant vehicles, and a multi-sensory art experience to the city. The city has also funded visual arts-based programs in schools, has purchased musical instruments for both adults as well as students, and has helped establish the Mill Station Arts and Culture Center And these are just a few of the examples in the way in which arts is alive in Rancho Cordova. And to help further elevate arts, the addition of an arts stakeholder advisory group was formed. The formation of the arts stakeholder group was identified as one of the near-term action items within the Arts Strategic Plan. Council did adopt the strategic plan in December 2019, and the formation of the Arts Advisory Group happened in early 2020. And that group is made up of representatives from the community. All of the individuals that are part of that advisory group are shown on the screen. And one of the unique things about them is they represent a variety of disciplines, but they all have unique areas of expertise and a passion for the arts. This group has been meeting with city staff and a consultant team, and we've been doing so since the start of 2020. This group has helped create the focus for public art in fiscal year 2021, and I want to thank each one of them for their commitment to this project and their desire to make Rancho Cordova an even more artful place. I also want to thank Daniel Leonardich and Paul Yunker, who have been involved in this process as well, and Cheryl Gleason, the program coordinator at the MAC. She provided her insights to this project and process as well. The city is definitely committed to fostering a beautiful and creative community. And through the annual Community Enhancement Fund allocation made through public art, approximately $50,000 has been set aside each year for this focus. And rather than receiving just a few visual art grant applications during this program year, we decided to do a more targeted call for artists, which is what's going to happen starting tomorrow. So the city is going to be seeking art wrap designs for utility boxes and other fixtures like traffic signal boxes within the community. This will not only beautify spaces throughout the city, but it will also provide opportunities for artists ages 16 and over. We will accept applications for original artwork in any medium that can be transferred into a multi-sided format. So we didn't want to limit this to just one type of artist. The original artwork could be a painting, it could be a textile piece, it could be a sculpture, anything that they can imagine as a multi-sided and multi-dimensional object would really work for this project. And we're also looking for a wide variety of styles and themes that represent the diversity of Rancho Cordova. Artists will receive a stipend for their art wrap designs that are selected. The map that's on the screen is going to be a map that's available on our website that is clickable, so individuals can click on a dot and see the specific location with various images of the signal boxes or utility boxes that are available. The potential art box locations that are shown on this map in orange and blue are located throughout Rancho Cordova. The advisory group did look at a large number of potential box locations, and they narrowed it down to the selections that are on this screen. And when they were narrowing the boxes down, they looked at a variety of things, including the overall visibility of the box, the traffic in and around the box, the proximity to the art block, which was a focused area discussed during the Art Strategic Plan. But they also wanted distribution to take place throughout Rancho Cordova and not just be located in one area such as the art block. The artists won't be required to select a location. However, they are encouraged to list a location. That way they can describe how their artwork might work within a specific geography, or if it's near a school, how that might interplay with the surrounding community assets. And like I mentioned, they'll be able to click on a dot and get some additional photo images so that they can see exactly the location and the size of the box that they're working with. SMUD utility boxes as well as traffic signal boxes vary in size, so we have given just some sample pictures of what a typical SMUD utility box looks like in Rancho Cordova, as well as what 2 different style signal boxes look like. The images on the right are from a similar program, but a little bit different from what we're doing, and those were taken from the Sunrise Marketplace. Sunrise is a little different in that their focus was taking existing works of art known around the world from different masters and applying that just to a centralized area within their marketplace. We're looking to take original works of art from local artists and apply them, and also offer stipends for our artists for their work. We do anticipate that we'll be able to wrap between 20 and 25 boxes. And we also may end up wrapping a city vehicle or something of that nature, just depending on the overall quality of the submissions that we get and what the breakdown ends up being per box once we've worked with pro wraps who will be doing the actual installation. So the city is seeking artists or artist team to propose these art wraps. They will have the opportunity to apply online starting tomorrow. Each artist or artist group can submit 1 proposed piece of art per application. However, they can submit up to 3 applications for consideration. We anticipate that, like I said, we will be able to fund somewhere between 20 and 25 utility boxes within the city. And lastly, the projects will be evaluated by both the art stakeholder group and city staff. And we anticipate that once that evaluation is done, a selection will be made, and we will then reach out to those artist groups shortly thereafter. A sample flyer is shown on the left side of the screen, and the timeline for the program is shown on the right. We will begin launching the program tomorrow. Artists will have until September 30th to submit their proposals to the city. We will make notifications to all the artists on which projects are moving forward, and that will be done no later than October 30th. The actual fabrication of the wraps could start as early as November, and we anticipate that the process is only going to take a few months to wrap all the utility boxes that are selected for this project. We will include artist recognition on both our website and in the other platforms that we use throughout the project. And we will certainly come back to council at the end of this process to share with you the results and tweaks we might make for the coming year. This concludes tonight's presentation, but if you have any questions about this pilot program, I'm happy to answer those.
All right, colleagues, be careful of your microphones. We're getting some feedback from a variety of sources, it seems. Are there comments or questions about the call for artists for the utility box art wrap program?
2 questions, David.
I was going to say, I'm sure Linda has a comment.
No, just a couple questions. Stacy, I'm not looking at the staff report, but there was a comment. There's a graphic that seems to imply that there's like a stage 1 and stage 2 location, or a tier 1 and tier 2 location.
So we did update the slide in the presentation for tonight. Rather than it saying like a rating of a 4 or a 5, we've updated the map to show instead it's either a SMUD box or it's a traffic signal box. And that rating was really an internal rating so that we could narrow down a grouping of maybe 60 projects locations to 30.
Sure. And you're right. I remember it said 4 and 5. Okay. Secondly, do you view this initial 20 to 25 as the initial group, and perhaps we would come back in subsequent years and do more?
That really is the goal, both by city staff and the art stakeholder group. We're considering this a pilot project just to see if we need to make any adjustments, but ideally, we would like to see if it goes as successful as we think, to do this in future years as well. There's plenty of utility boxes or other structures that we could wrap, and we feel this is just a start to that project.
I appreciate that. I have noticed in downtown Sacramento over the last 5 or 6 years that they've been doing that, and that at first the art pieces were really few and far between, and now there's simply more and more and more of the boxes that have been completed in the, on the major entrances and exits to the downtown area. So, thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I think the strategic deployment of these boxes, sort of carefully placed and choosing the right ones to start with, is a really smart approach. I've noticed with some of those in downtown Sacramento, there is some wear and tear over time. And so we're gonna have to,
Yes, there is.
we're gonna have a strategy of, going back and redoing them or renewing them or, allowing new art to appear on them, whatever the appropriate course is, but we should probably think that through as well.
Yeah, so the company that's going to wrap them offers a 1-year warranty on the actual vinyl wrap, but they tend to last upwards of 5 years. It is the city's responsibility to do the ongoing maintenance. So whether we replace it with a new refreshed image or the same image, we can do so.
Yeah, I know there's some downtown near where I park routinely. They've probably been there, I don't know, 7 years, 10 years at this point. They don't look bad, but you can tell there's a little wear on them.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's not a
So
terrible investment at all.
David, that does bring up a really good point, though. Do we have a policy on what happens to the location after the artwork just truly has worn out? Because there's been some controversy downtown in the murals with wide open walls about what happens if the building owners change their mind and build more, or a variety of stuff. We should, Stacy may have thought of this. We really need policy, or at least some guidelines on whether we want to preserve a particular piece of art in a particular location, kind of in perpetuity.
You were breaking up a little bit, but we did include in our program details information that basically says this is a temporary piece of art and the city has the right to remove it, replace it, or modify it as needed. So we are taking into account that it's probably not going to be a permanent fixture for the next 10 years, and as such, it's more temporary.
Okay. And they will obviously be cataloged and recorded somewhere?
Yes. So it would be included not only in our open data tool that will showcase where each item is placed within the city within this project, but we also anticipate in the future to have something more along the lines of an art subpage of some sort so that we could list all the various art projects that are happening, not just the utility box art wrap.
Like an archive?
Yes.
Other comments or questions? I think it's great, by the way, having a digital archive to sort of capture this art.
Yeah, for sure.
Particularly in the future as it may expire or get changed or something, to have a permanent record of it is a pretty good idea. Any other comment? Any public comment?
There's no public comment.
Okay.
Is there one thing
Go ahead, Bob.
Yeah, and David, with the boxes we're talking about, we have done so well with the murals that we have. Those are really appreciated by many people. And I think doing something like this would be just a good way to advance and move forward on that too. I think a lot of people will be appreciating what we're doing in Rancho Cordova.
Absolutely.
All right.
Okay, this is an
Thank you.
information item, so thank you very much. We appreciate it. We are moving on to item 12.2, which is a presentation about the Community Engagement Division. Another staffer in person. Awesome.
You can't do community engagement division
I was
update
gonna
and
make,
not
I had
be
a
in
whole
person.
bunch of jokes about that.
Right?
Now I can't use them.
I cannot let that happen. Good evening, Mayor and council members. I am Lorianne Olm, and I manage the Community Engagement Division under the Communications and Public Affairs Department. Our last annual update was in July of 2019, where we presented our strategic plan for our Community Engagement Division. And tonight, what we're going to do is I would like to review with council.
Persephone needs to pull it up.
Okay.
She's working on that.
Perfect. We will review tonight our Community Engagement Division components, as well as our accomplishments for fiscal year 1920, and then our actions planned for 2021. So we'll be able to review those items. Thank you. Perfect. Nope, you're good. So our team includes Matt Bulin, our Community Engagement Assistant, and Alexis Diaz, who is our intern. As I said, we'll review components, accomplishments, and our actions for 2021. So one of our components is our beautification. All of our beautification efforts. We have our Good Neighbor Assistance Program, community volunteers, and our nonprofit groups, which I will share a little bit on each of these. So our Good Neighbor Assistance Pilot Program, we launched this beginning of 2020. We have received 8 applications, 2 are completed and 6 are in progress. It did slow down a little bit at the beginning of COVID, but we are now moving forward, and we have all of our referrals right now are coming from code enforcement, which we truly appreciate. Our community volunteers, I'm going to highlight a few. One being our mock group. So this is our mock students from Cordova High. And we have, I've been corresponding with Conrad Bayer, who leads this group. And the reason I want to highlight them right now is because they've been working on community service projects, improving and helping residents with their lawns and just doing yard maintenance. But they've been doing it during the heat of the summer. So I really I give them major kudos for the work that they've been doing. We have helped coordinate with the residents and Republic Services as needed, and then we provide the students with the referrals of the residents in need. The residents have been extremely pleased, and they've done pruning, which you can see here, and lots of like minor fence repair and yard cleanups. Another community service group on our business side, we have USI, and we also have our VSP internship program partnered with us and the American River Parkway Foundation to provide a river cleanup. And then one that stood out was JJ Fitster actually reached out to us to help them recruit volunteers. They did 3 volunteer days where volunteers filled and labeled hand sanitizer bottles. So that was a big effort for 3 days. And then we've also coordinated multiple groups from River City Christian. They have had large volunteer groups, and they've done things like tree plantings, cleanups in the park, and other community service projects. Our residential health and safety improvements, this is combining So our Rebuilding Together Sacramento, Sierra Service Project, and Habitat for Humanity. These are our 3 Community Enhancement Fund projects. Sierra Service, since fiscal year 1920, they have completed 5 homes, which consist of over 12 different projects that they've completed, and they have worked through March of 2020. Since March of 2020, they have been on hold to identify their new model of how they are going to move forward. Habitat for Humanity has completed 4 homes. And Rebuilding Together Sacramento is in the process of working on the 14 homes, and they're going to take a different approach this year. So normally Rebuilding Together, as you may be aware, over the past years, they have one large rebuild day where they do all of their homes in one day versus spreading it out over a period of time. They also use about 500 volunteers to do all of that work. Right now, due to COVID, that model is not working for their board. So they are looking at a different model. What they are going to do is they are planning to do a model where they are going to be working with their contractors and small groups of 3 to 5 volunteers so that they can practice social distancing and keep their volunteers safe. And they will complete projects throughout the year, and they have extended their contract through the end of this calendar year. And they are using this model to see if that is going to work for them, and they may possibly use that same model for next year. Our community engagement, so our neighborhood engagement is we've been working with our neighborhood groups, also our community microgrants, our neighborhood cleanups, and I do want to, I will highlight our VINS Zoom meetings. So our neighborhood events, we have still had our signature events from some of our neighborhoods, such as the trunk or treat that did happen, the Christmas parade, and the National Nights Out. That was the fiscal year 19 going into 20. We also had the neighborhoods organize their own block walks, and we had a sign unveiling ceremony that some of the council may remember. That was on a very windy day where we unveiled the sign in Lincoln Village. Our community microgrants, I want to highlight, so we have our small community microgrants, which consist of a $500 grant for our neighborhoods. And Somerset was one of the neighborhoods. We also had our trunk or treat and Christmas parade. Sun River applied and did a noon Year's Eve. And we also had the LDS Church applied for their Christmas baskets. For our larger community microgrants, which are the $5,000 grants for our nonprofits, we had the Cordova Food Locker, Thanksgiving and Christmas giveaways, River City Christian, the Harvest Festival, and their Christmas Mall, Le Car's Legacy, which did a virtual art program, and the FCCP, which I highlighted here. They did a Harvest Festival, and they also did a Juneteenth event. And what I want to highlight here is this event, the Juneteenth event and the Le Car's Legacy event were both done all virtual. So this was a drive-through event, reinventing themselves. They had an event planned where people were going to be there in person, and they changed the model so that they could still feed. So they had 70 carloads attend and 300 meals distributed. The Le Car's Legacy, they applied for the grant, and they are actually doing virtual art classes where you drive through, pick up your art packet, and then they are actually going to be doing an online art class. And they're going to do that every month between now and April.
That's great.
So that was an amazing, but it's reinventing, trying to identify what events look like through COVID. Our community clean and green event at the White Rock neighborhood was an amazing event, and why I highlight this event, we had one in November and one in December. We partnered with the principal, Principal Peterson at White Rock Elementary, and he reached out to his students and invited them, but we participated and we layered different events in one day to get the best bang and just layer events instead of having all of these separate one-off events. So what we did in that one day is we had a barbecue, we had the tree planting, we had Republic Services do a cleanup, and then we also had VINs do their kudos. So we made the best of the community's time in one day. It was a very successful event. The kids actually came, ate, had a great time, and the principal was actually waiting to see when we were going to do it again. So that was very successful. And here is highlighting, I just wanted to highlight the VINs, and Republic Services did their Kudos Award, and that was identifying a home that had a nice kept yard, and the VINs had criteria on how they chose those homes. And I also wanted to highlight too that the VINs have been very successful. They're still continuing, meeting monthly through Zoom meetings. We have our neighborhood tree plantings. We did a large event at Williamson Elementary School. We also planted trees in the Dave Roberts Park. And then we have our special projects. Our special projects, I'm going to highlight a few of them through our division. One is the neighborhood walks with the mayor, and we had completed a total of 6 walks. Our field trips, which are, gosh, I can't wait till we can have them again. That's really sad. We had to cancel a few already. But we had a total, in a short period of time, we had a total of 5 school field trips. And we actually held mock city council meetings in this room. We had recycling exercises thanks to Republic Services who participated, and then we also do our city tour. These have been a huge success, and we now have more and more elementary schools that want to come here, and hopefully we will be able to return to that one day. I want to take a moment to thank, I'm sure they're not going to thank me for posting these pictures, but I want to take a moment to thank City Council Member Donald Terry and city staff for raising $3,400 even though we canceled this event. So COVID came, we had to cancel this event, and staff and our council member, Donald Terry, took it upon themselves to still shave their heads and raise money for the St. Patrick's event.
And if you go to my Facebook, you can see my before and after.
I didn't have yours.
The really sad thing about this, yeah, I did. I will say the very unique thing about that event was Sunday prior to this event, which was going to be on a Wednesday, I was actually at Claim Stake where we were going to hold the event, having a beer when the governor announced to close all of our bars. And we were talking about we had just canceled it like a few hours before that, I believe. Yeah.
It was very disappointing. But you guys still came through. Last year you raised $5,000 and this year's $3,400. So that's just for in such a short period of time. Yeah. Continuing our special projects, I just wanted to highlight a few things with since March of 2020, that's kind of where I want to focus right now. So since COVID started, we have a few projects that we've really focused on. One is our Great Plates Meals, Senior Meals Program. On an average, we've been able to serve 100 seniors since May 6th, providing 3 free meals delivered daily. We've extended this program 3 times so far, and have had several participating restaurants. I also wanted to highlight our local organizations that have really come through, and one specifically, she was here tonight, Jennifer Larrett with A4 Promotions. She has provided up the warehouse at their location, which has made collecting donations during all of this possible. She has been amazing, going above and beyond, allowing for her site to be the drop-off. And then what we've been able to do is we've been able to take collections that have supported Blessings in a Backpack, the Food Locker, our school district, Students in Need, and the Folsom Cordova Community Partnership, and more. NEC is one of the businesses I wanted to highlight here. They collected 1,460 pounds of food, and that 64 hygiene kits, and we were able to distribute those. That was all dropped off at A4 Promotions warehouse, so they are able to make that possible. So I wanted to give a major thank you to Jennifer Larrett. We have supported and communicated with our Interfaith Council, which have been fantastic through this as resources, and also being able to share with them the community microgrants. So now looking at actions for 2020-2021. One focus, of course, is always going to be our neighborhood engagement program. You can see here that we are in a couple of new neighborhoods. We have been working in Cordova Town, White Rock, and Somerset. We have some proposed neighborhoods I'm going to show you on this map. So the circles are the proposed neighborhoods, but we have added White Rock, Cordova Town, and Somerset. Now, working in these neighborhoods, it's new models. We have transitioned into Zoom meetings. We've transitioned into drive-through events. It is looking at new ways of what engagement is, not in a traditional, obviously what we would prefer as engagement, but we are still working with these neighborhood groups to the best of our ability to keep everyone engaged. And Somerset is one that I have to say their energy level is amazing. They are ready to take on the world. They are ready to do all kinds of, they are thinking outside of the box, and it's been really fun working with that group. They're already planning some drive-through trunk or treat events, and they're looking at what new models of events look like through a COVID lens. Our Building Strong Neighborhoods with our Good Neighbor Assistance Program that will continue. Our community service, I have a new group from Flame Ministries. They're reaching out to us. I cannot tell you how many times we have had businesses reach out to us lately that want to do community service projects in our city. And we're just looking to see how can we do that, being safe, making sure our volunteers are safe, and still following the county health orders. But we still have been able to maintain our Good Neighbor Assistance Program and our residential cleanups. Focusing on our outreach with our key partners, we still have been able to do so. It looks like Zoom now, but we are still able to connect with all of our groups, which has been fantastic. We have not lost that connection with our groups. So that will continue. And also, obviously, events, when we are allowed to have events again, we would love to have events. If anybody, we're going to be the ones that will be racing to that first event when they are. I'll probably be racing with Shelley, but I guess Shelley might beat me there. When we can start having normal events again. We are looking at acknowledgements for our neighborhood engagement program, possibly in Western Cities Magazine. We are looking at the Alliance for Innovation has reached out. We did a webinar through the Alliance for Innovation on our community engagement program, and they actually now are asking us if we would be interested in doing another webinar post-COVID to actually show how are we doing things now through that lens. So that's exciting to see how.
Stacey, it seems we've lost audio on some of our council members.
I just had a text that said
sorry.
that. Yes.
I'll just ask you to hold for a second.
Okay.
Not quite sure what to do about that.
That is an interesting problem, isn't it? Yeah, I got text messages saying everyone on Zoom lost audio.
Well, that does wrap it up. I'm not sure. I'm not sure what slide they ended on, but if they ended, if I
That's
knew
funny.
sign language, I would finish it that way. But
You hold at the very last.
so I will take questions, but obviously, can we hear them?
Maybe we can ask maybe we can ask individuals to log off and then log back on and see if that works.
Just need to hold up a sign.
Questions.
Since there's no audio,
Oh, that's true.
we can certainly text.
Yes. Can they not hear us? That's what I'm being told. We would have heard it hang up.
I heard a hang up.
You did?
Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe check and see if the 8700 line is still connected.
Is there a chat room for questions? No.
This is a first.
Yeah, no. So I'll just dial back in. Bizarre.
I see Linda talking, got no audio.
I see everyone talking.
Welcome to Zoom. Enter your meeting ID followed by pound.
There's my message.
Enter your participant ID followed by pound. Otherwise, just press pound to continue. You have joined the meeting as an attendee and will be muted throughout the meeting.
Lorianne, say something.
Hello.
We have audio.
Welcome.
Nope.
Still silent?
No audio on our end. David, if you're talking, David, I can't hear you.
So nothing at all, no?
No. Can you hear me now?
It's something with the microphones in the room there, guys. Because we were all talking to each other on Zoom. We just couldn't hear you.
Oh, gosh.
And so we were all, I know I can't even hear you, but I'll explain that. We were all sitting here for a good 2 or 3
The
minutes.
host would like you to
and then
unmute
finally
your
I spoke up
microphone.
and said,
You
did
can press
anybody else's audio
"You are
turn
unmuted."
off? Everyone that's on Zoom that's not in that room, we could hear each other. We couldn't hear you.
We should be okay now, right?
I can hear Cyrus now.
Okay.
Okay, so we're back.
Councilmember Terry, can you hear me?
David, I now can hear you. Lorianne, did you just say something?
Yes.
I think we muted
Yeah.
ourselves
Oh.
in the room somehow, or we got muted here in the room. That must
Okay.
have been what happened.
I think you fixed it.
Oh, a phone line hung up.
Excellent.
All right.
Here.
Okay,
Here.
so Lorianne,
There
you
you go.
might
All
want
right,
to
we can hear
go.
everybody now.
What slide did you, Councilmember Terry, what slide were you on? Do you recall?
Bring them back up, and I'll tell you where.
We were on Maria and somebody else and a tall man at a park event.
That was.
She's way more specific than I would have gotten.
That's interesting. Trying to remember that part of the presentation.
I was going to say, yeah, keep going back a ways.
Wrong presentation.
Well, the good news.
We were not talking environmental documents. I know that.
The good news is that was the last slide. So we will just.
Yeah, then you went to question.
I will recap that slide.
Yeah, we were there.
Perfect.
Yep.
So on that slide, just to recap, we actually are looking to identify acknowledgements for our neighborhood engagement program through Western Cities Magazine. We are still planning on, we've had presentations for Rotary and for our school districts. Those will probably be via Zoom. But the exciting thing that I wanted to bring up was the Alliance for Innovation is an organization that reached out to us, and we did a webinar on our neighborhood engagement program. And I had contacts from Florida, North Carolina, all over asking us about the program, wanting to get more information. And so now they've asked us to come back and do another webinar of what we're doing now through the lens of COVID. So that's exciting to talk through that with other local organizations. And that would be the end of the presentation. And I would love any questions if you have any.
Okay. Questions or comments from council members? Do we have any public comment?
David, I just have oh, yeah.
We don't have any. Go ahead, Donald.
Okay. I just wanted to share a quick story, Lorianne, from earlier today that I had. Some of us are doing interviews about tree canopies and our tree plan and some other stuff. And near the end, one of the consultants said, what's the most effective way to get the information about our tree programs into the community? And without hesitation, I said, working more through our community engagement department and programs, that we can send out flyers, whether it's, good neighbor guides, or that we have, we'll pay for trees, or we'll remove your stumps, or we'll help you with your fencing, or rebuilding together, or habitat, or any of these other things that we have out there. But still, the most effective conduit to getting people bought that this isn't a scam, that this is real, and that your neighbors want to help you, is working through your team. And I think that's so true of so many of the things that we do well now, is, whether it's the Measure H or other things where we have this funding, still the best way to deliver that message and to engage people to want to participate in our programs is by working with your team. And so kudos to everything that you've done. I mean, to think that when I got on city council, you are a volunteer coordinator, and now you are so much more than and not that you weren't important then, but what you've done to really elevate what it means to do community organizing and to do community engagement in our city is just phenomenal. And thank you for everything that you've done, and kudos for the evolution of the work that you've been doing over the last 8 years that I've known you.
Thank you for that. I really appreciate that comment. We have amazing staff. We have an amazing team. We layer it on top of other city departments, so it's not just us, and our residents really make us shine. So I really appreciate that comment.
That was a perfect comment, actually. I'm not going to amend it in any way. Just say thank you. Great work.
Thank you. Great.
Any other council comments? No public comment?
Thank you.
All right. Thank you. a challenging job in challenging times. All right, next up, we are going to take on the very exciting topic of Zone 11. And actually, there is an exciting result in here. Not to make too big of a joke about it. Albert, we are on to item 12.3. Subject is transition of the Zone 11 fee program from Sacramento County to the city. Staff report.
Good evening, Mayor Sander and council members. Albert Stricker with the Public Works Department. And prior to city incorporation and since city incorporation, the County of Sacramento has managed the city's Zone 11A stormwater program. And I'm pleased to announce that we are moving forward with full support with our development partners in transitioning that existing program over to City of Rancho Cordova to manage that program moving forward. And Dahlia Faddle on our team has been leading this effort and doing a great job of coordinating with all of the stakeholders, and she's going to tell us more about what this project is and what the next steps are.
Thanks, Albert. Good evening, Mayor, City Council members. Thank you for having me tonight. I have the pleasure of being your last presenter of the day, so hopefully this will be exciting enough. So I'm just waiting on the slides to be pulled up. So the topic of the presentation is the transition of the Zone 11 fee program. This is a drainage impact fee program that's currently run by Sacramento County, as Albert mentioned. A quick overview of the presentation. I'm going to start off with some background about the program, benefits of the detachment, the fee development process that we went through, fee implementation. I'm going to talk about credits and reimbursements offered by the program, the stakeholders outreach that we conducted, and finally end with timeline and next steps. Really, our goal out of today's presentation is to provide you with an overview of the proposed city storm drainage impact fee program and receive feedback and direction. A little bit about background about the program. So since incorporation has been run by Sac County, the program requires developers to pay a fee to mitigate for their project impacts to the city's drainage system. So anytime we get a development proposal that creates hard surfaces, that in turn leads to increased runoff coming off that parcel as compared to pre-project condition, and that creates impacts on the city's drainage system. So the program funds are used to fund installation of new regional storm drainage facilities, as well as enhancing existing facilities to mitigate development impacts and to facilitate future development. Benefits of the detachment. So we feel like the implementing the city's version of the program will result in major benefits to developers as well as the city and the public in general. Some of these benefits include more streamlined plan review and increased efficiency. So currently, applicants have to go through the city's plan review process for stormwater and drainage approval, but they also have to go through a similar process with Sacramento County just to get their fees developed and approved through the county. So we feel like now we'll have streamlined process and they would just have to go through the city's approval. We do have lower fees for most land use categories through the city's proposed program. Applicants will have one point of contact with the city's program versus having to deal with multiple departments, which is the case currently with the Sac County's program. There will be more local control over administering the program funds, which will allow the city to use the funds from the program per the city's priorities. Closer coordination with developers so that we can work with them on every step of the project instead of having partially working with them on the approval and then having the county work on the fee assessment. Finally, we feel like it will offer more flexibility with the program implementation because it will allow the city to make changes and amend the program as needed, again, to fit the city's process and priorities. So a little bit about how we developed the fees. We conducted a technical analysis of the undeveloped portion of the city to basically figure out how much money do we need to get to full build out and install, how much drainage improvements are needed to get us to full built out. So we estimated what that total cost is, and then we divided that cost over all the undeveloped parcels within the city using the hardscape percentages. So the higher the hardscape area, for example, for a certain land use, the higher the fee would be. I want to call your attention that that photo is of the Resaca Road detention basin that has some existing wetlands. So fee development. The proposed fees for the city's programs are lower than the county's for most land use categories. I'm presenting you here with 3 examples. For example, for a low-density residential project, the city's proposed fee is at $12,880 compared to the county's, which is currently at $17,360. For a high-density residential RD25, the city's current proposed fee will be $22,540 compared to the current county fee, which is $21,079. And finally, for a commercial office retail land use, the city's proposed fee will be $22,540 compared to the county's current fee, which is $23,309. How we plan to implement the program. So the fees will be paid at the issuance of building permit or improvement plans approval, whichever occurs first. The fees will be based on the fee schedule that's in effect at the time that the fees are paid. Redevelopment projects will only have to pay a fee based on the difference in the paved area if they are proposing a use that introduces additional hardscape. And finally, January of each year, the fee schedule will be updated just to keep up with inflation. Credits and reimbursements. So one of the advantages of the program is that it offers developers credits towards the fees that they owe if they install permanent regional facilities that serve 30 or more acres. So anytime they install facilities that have more of a regional benefit and it doesn't just benefit their specific project, they are able to apply for these credits. Whenever those credit amounts exceed the fees due, then there is a reimbursement that's owed back to the applicant that the city will owe them and will be paid out of the program fund. The applicants have a total of 5 years to apply for these reimbursements, and the city will pay these reimbursements back to the developers in a maximum of 10 years, which matches the current county policy. So a little bit about the stakeholder outreach that we conducted. So we engaged with the Building Industry Association back in late April. We sent them copies of the Nexus study that was used to develop the fee program, the proposed code chapter, as well as the proposed fee table. And we received some comments back from the Building Industry Association technical team that we worked on responding to. We did do a formal presentation to the BIA on July 7th. And then from there, it was really kind of back and forth working on some edits and incorporating their feedback into the final copy of the Nexus study. And we are happy to report that we did end up getting a support letter from BIA that was attached to your council report. We have been coordinating very closely with Sacramento County Department of Water Resources throughout the entire process. And then finally, we posted the Nexus study, fee table, and code chapter on the city's website for a 30-day public review period that will end on August 31st. So timeline and next steps, we're hoping to incorporate any feedback that we receive from council tonight into the program, as well as the fees or the Nexus study. We are hoping to schedule the code readings for September after we wrap up the public review period. There will be a 60-day wait period once the new program is approved by City Council for it to be effective. After city's approval of the new program, the county will seek approval from the county's Board of Supervisors for the detachment. And that concludes my presentation for tonight, and now I'm open to receiving any of your questions.
All right, very good. This looks to me like great staff work. Something I wish we could have done quite a while ago, but I understand the litigation complications of getting this separated from the county. The change in the fee is quite frankly kind of shocking to me, because we have, gone to bat and worked overtime and put blood, sweat, and tears into trying to make projects pencil out in Rancho Cordova, and had this kind of silly thing hanging over our heads while all of that was going on. That is really, really frustrating to see that this has been in place that long. And I understand why, and to see that it was managed in that way is very frustrating, because that had a negative impact on our community, a negative impact on our partners, a negative impact on our residents. I'm really glad to see we're getting it fixed.
Mr. Mayor, if I just make a comment.
Go ahead, Cyrus.
The discussions on this issue or topic will go back all the way to 2005. And obviously, there were a number of complications that came along. There was a point that we thought we would be able to have a conclusion in about 6 years ago, 7 years ago. And we realized that the county was engaged in some litigation with some developers, and we felt we needed to wait until that litigation is over. So the frustration is well put. I really want to appreciate the staff's work for staying the course.
Yep.
And getting it to the point that we are tonight. So these are the last steps to completing that process. A very long road to get here.
Council, any comments on this item?
We do have public
No,
comment.
just one thing, the many things that we, on 2002, when we took over and became the city, and we found out how many of the things that we had to accept from the county, and it's taken a long time to get these things changed, corrected, taken over by the city. As you said, David, it took a lot longer than you think it should have, but everything seems to take longer than it should have. But we're there now, so thank you for the staff. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Okay, public
Need a
comment?
motion, David?
I think we have public comment or two.
We do have a public comment. Jeff Short, can you hear us? And you'll have 3 minutes.
Thank you so much. This is Jeff Short with the North State Building Industry Association. I won't stay long because I think most of what I said was in the letter, but I did want to again publicly thank Dahlia and staff for her outreach on this item with us, for her quick responses to all of our questions, for working with us on our concerns. We agree that this will not only help with local control and bringing, this whole issue under the umbrella of the city. It'll streamline and eliminate red tape and bring down fees to a level that is much more palpable for our members while still being able to allow the city to do all it needs to do. So it really is a win-win for everybody, and definitely urge your support. Thank you.
All right, very good. Thank you. Great to have that collaboration.
Yeah.
All right, so now I think, do we need to adopt this, or is this just a report?
This is just the presentation for your really more like an overview, and then we will be scheduling the code readings in September
Okay.
and potentially first meeting.
We
in
have a
October.
motion written in here, but I don't think that was necessary.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, that's what I was asking. I didn't think so either.
Cyrus, is there anything else hanging out there that we have yet to gather in to our city fold?
I think this is the last significant item. There's some, we've been able to bring the transit district in, we've done the landscape maintenance district, we did the transportation a long time ago, and this was the major outstanding issue. So we should be good.
Okay.
We're in a good place.
All right. Good work. Thank you for the presentation. We are on item 13, council requests for future agenda items. I have an unusual one, given today's news, and I'll admit right at the forefront, I'm not 100% informed on this topic, but it seems grave enough that I thought we should probably raise it, and I've heard my colleagues refer to it. The county last week was challenged on how they spent, I think it's $189 million they received in CARES funding, COVID relief funding, money that was meant to deal with the COVID crisis that we're in. Last week, it was revealed they'd spent less than 1% of that, and that a majority of it had gone to staff salaries. And they pointed out that they had a large budget deficit because of the economic sort of collapse and the recession we're in. Unfortunately, that's not what those funds are intended for, to deal with the economic collapse. Those funds are intended to deal with costs that are associated with COVID, not a loss of revenue. Now, their justification is probably reasonable with regard to the Sheriff's Department salaries. I know they had a lot of unexpected expenses probably this spring, but setting that part completely aside, to have gone through the crisis we went through this spring and to have spent, in essence, nothing dealing with testing and contact tracing is beyond belief for me at this point. I really hope I've been misinformed or I've misread something or I'm wrong about this, but that is shocking to me. All the stuff I've read about how counties are supposed to be gearing up to do this, the directives we had from the state, the metrics we were supposed to be following from the state about gearing up to do contact tracing, clearly it didn't work in this county. I thought it was because we didn't gear up enough. It appears perhaps we didn't gear up at all. Or we certainly spent no money doing it, and I'm not sure how you gear up without spending any money. No money really spent on testing? So I think we could probably use some clarity, and I'm bringing this up, Council, because I've been approached by numerous other elected leaders in the county asking me my opinion on this for the past 2 weeks, I guess, or 10 days, whatever it's been. And I'm not 100% sure how to respond to that, but my gut instinct is that I'm not at all happy about it. There's been a lot of suggestions about things we could do, but I thought perhaps in 2 weeks we could have a well-reasoned and informed update from the county or from our staff about that topic. Because I would hate to think that, this community, we are not the public health agency, the city of Rancho Cordova. That is not our responsibilities. We have no expertise there. That is a county responsibility. It is that way all over the state. If our county has not lived up to their responsibilities there, that is a big, big issue for us. Because that endangers our residents in an area that we're not responsible for, but who else are our residents going to turn to rectify that? So that's I may be misinformed. Don't think I have all the details here yet. I haven't seen the exact county documents that were released today, but it doesn't look good. I don't know if my colleagues have any comments on that.
Yeah, David, I would echo what you're saying. I'm not sure that the county would even entertain coming and answering our questions in some way. So I'm not sure how you would
I don't know.
approach this as an agenda item. But I share the same concerns. I mean, I was approached, as one of the chairs of the Community Resources Cap to Cap Committee, the Metro Chamber and a lot of other folks, approached me as soon as that story came out, asked me about my opinion of the fact that they didn't utilize the funding for homeless services. And so, I mean, the whole thing just seems really backwards to me. The fact, and again, I don't want to get too far in the weeds here because this isn't an agendized item. But that funding in a lot of other places flowed to other cities for other programs, for economic development, for lots of other things. And so, what I've been asking, because I've received a lot of the same phone calls that you did, was I want to see what other counties are doing. I think the one thing I did see from that B story was comparing the response from the city of LA and the county of Sacramento. And like you just pointed out, the responsibilities of those two organizations are completely different, right? Yeah. And so LA was doing rental assistance. Go ask LA County what they did and compare it to what Sacramento County did.
Exactly.
But I'm hearing, that Placer County spent 25% of it on economic development support. So yeah, there are some huge questions here to be answered. I'd be interested, probably in the mayor, vice mayor, and city manager conversations, how you would arrange a hearing of sorts on this subject. But yeah, I mean, I would welcome the conversation at least because, and again, that was my reasoning for asking Robert, would you have more capacity if the county could fund more testing?
Exactly.
This argument that, you can't get a test, it takes 10 days and all these other things. And I think there's been a lot of blame to be, thrown around all over this country. But in our own backyard, you got $200 million and you use it the way you were legally allowed to use it, from what I understand, was to pay the sheriff's department because in the bill they allowed you to do that. And that was one of the only things that you could do to paper over a deficit. But that wasn't the point of it. So I don't know. I'd like to have more of a conversation around this subject at some point. But at the same time, the forum may be, we call into a county supervisor meeting, or we adopt a resolution to send over to express our concerns.
Right.
I guess would probably be more along the lines of an official act that we could really take. We're not Congress. We can't call the county supervisors to come sit in the in our chambers and cross-examine.
Right, Adam.
Yeah.
Okay, David, I'll be your third request.
Okay.
You need 3 requests. I'll be your
I
third.
have no idea what the specifics of the request are, other than we're looking into it.
Whatever it is. Yeah.
Hey, that's the beauty of you being mayor. You got to figure this out now that you asked for it.
Well, it's
Can I give Mayor just a...
It's an interesting place for a virologist to be in because, if the argument comes up that, the feds weren't providing adequate supplies or we couldn't get adequate media, there are really easy answers to those questions that have been pretty much ignored in the media. Okay. Enough said on that. Adam, something you were going to add?
Adam, you were going to say something?
So to the city manager, I think the request is to bring back a future agenda item relating to this topic, and rather than for you to take specific action related to it. Is that your understanding?
Just to add.
I think there needs to be some discussion at the mayor, vice mayor, city manager level, how you go about that and what is the most effective way to not only ask questions, but to address our concerns.
Yep.
And to express our concerns.
So I would say our goals would be things like, how is our population getting access to testing? And trying to be sure that they're getting reasonable access to testing. And thinking longer term about how will our population get access to a vaccine? And is the county prepared or able to carry out that mission with which they are charged? I'm worried about those two fronts at this point.
What about what Robert Sanger was saying earlier this evening about the testing out there with them?
Yep.
That's, at least we can work on that. What the county's $200 million was not being used or something like that, but at least we have something here that the people in Rancho Cordova can go to and talk to Robert Sinier and the others in that partnership, you know.
Yeah, he said 150 people a week. You need a 0 or 2 after that for our population.
Uh-huh. But we have a little bit anyway.
Yep.
I will say, and I don't know if this is for a broader discussion someday, but David, I'd love to hear a little more about like what the city of LA actually, so this is Mayor Garcetti's new plan of a saliva test that gives you a result within minutes or something, or I guess it's a paper test or something that they're using, and how, you know, there's any way, you know, and we say this all the time, if there's any way for us to be able to, and this is a horrible time to probably say this with this subject, to be the guinea pigs of an innovative way of trying to tackle this problem. But in LA, I mean, the idea would be that you could test 1 million people in a week. And so you could test people before they go to work, before they go to school, you know, before they travel, to know with a relative amount of certainty if they're healthy or if they possibly could have it, and then follow up with the main test that everybody's been relying on.
Yeah.
But it seems like there's in the last couple weeks, I just keep hearing of a lot of unique experimental ways of trying to address this problem. The UCSF has a nasal spray that could be widely available within months, they're saying. And so I don't know if there is a way to have some more conversation around that. Again, not being the government entity responsible for addressing the health crisis, because again, that really is the county's purview, and we've done our best to respect their wishes, their directives, their orders, because they're making those decisions and we're responsible for enforcing those within our own city. And so we've done our best to really respect their role in this crisis. But to your point, that where we started with this, when their policies aren't respecting our residents, we need to be able to speak up and figure out how we address those.
Mr. Mayor, if I may add to the conversation, early on, when we learned about the funds being available to the county, a group of my colleagues and I reached out specifically. I arranged a conference call to speak with the county exec, and we were told at that time that the funds would be dedicated to the public health and be set aside for that purpose. So,
that conversation.
yeah. So I will.
That's helpful to know.
Yeah. So I'd be happy to follow up at my level, but I think some action on part of the council potentially. I think Councilmember Terry suggested the idea of a resolution that may be required. So let us have some brainstorming at staff level, and we will bring some options to you for further consideration.
That'd be great.
Yeah.
That'd be great.
Any other comments, council members? Okay, that was council request for future agenda items. We are now going to adjourn to a closed session. We're going to do that adjournment to closed session in memory of Don Guston, descendants of a founding family here in Rancho Cordova, and also, of course, in memory of Larry Stafford, who we honored earlier. And I will be back after this closed session to actually end the meeting and report out. But at this point, we're going to adjourn our regular session in memory of Larry Stafford and Don Guston. Colleagues, you will join me in closed session.